Your Honor, this is case number 231 on the calendar, the matter of Kubas versus Arlene. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Miss Arlene, are you a licensed hypnotherapist?
I'm a certified hypnotherapist, yes.
Certified.
Yes.
Is that what they do?
Yes, there's not a license for hypnotherapy in this state.
Is that the state of California?
The state of California, yes.
And how long have you been a certified hypnotherapist?
For 9 years, Your Honor.
According to what I've read in your complaint, Ms. Kubas, you sought the defendant's services in order to help you stop smoking.
That's correct.
And you are suing her because not only didn't you stop smoking, but you say that she should be responsible for other stress that she put you through because of some vision that she had while she was treating you. Where did you find Miss Arlene?
I found her out of the Yellow Pages, Your Honor.
How long have you been a smoker?
Probably 45 years.
So you figured it was time you stopped.
My sister died of cancer last year, and I desperately wanted to quit. And so I discussed it with my husband about going to see a hypnotherapist because I had been under so much stress and wanted to quit so badly that out of sheer desperation I called this ad in the paper.
Do you have the copy of the ad?
Yes, out of
see
the...
it, please.
Yes, I do. I explained to her my situation, and she told me that it was $295 and that she was 95% effective. The other 5% is usually people that smoke 3 to 4 packs a day. So I felt pretty secure in going to her, and she said, I have an appointment open at 12:30. This was at 11 o'clock. She said, can you be here? I live 50 miles away, but yes, I did go. And when I got there, I asked her how long had she been a hypnotherapist. She said 8 years. After this discussion, she asked me if I wanted to go ahead with it, and I said yes. So she proceeded to hypnotize me, and during this hypnotizing thing, the only thing she said pertaining to smoking was, when I want a cigarette, say to myself, I think I want a cigarette, but not now. Maybe later. Instead, I'll have a handful of grapes. Well, Your Honor, I ate so many grapes, I was having other problems.
Just a second. Just a second. She never promised you anything other than to stop smoking.
She promised me I wouldn't gain weight.
No.
But anyway, she told me after this session, she told me I had to give up Dr. Pepper, sugar, cream, milk, and I drink lots of water. I have a list of the things she told me to take.
Just a second. What date was that, by the way?
That was on July 12th.
Okay, so on July 12th you went there and you were smoking up until the time you got to her office, I assume.
Yes.
When you left her office on July 12th, you tell me that you ate a lot of grapes the next day.
Oh, yes.
But you didn't smoke.
Yes, I did smoke, Your Honor.
How much did you smoke the next day?
I smoked maybe 6 or 8 cigarettes.
Which is a lot less than you would smoke previously.
Yes, but
Okay. When were you supposed to go back?
I was to go back Wednesday on the 13th, or 14th. I was to go back July 14th.
So supposed to skip a day. Did you go back on the 14th?
Yes, I did.
What happened when you went back on the 14th?
I had complained to her about my bladder hurting me, and I had told her that I was still smoking. And she said it was probably the toxins emptying out of my body that was bothering my bladder. And she told me that I looked scattered. And I said, it's because I'm still smoking and I'm upset. And she said, well, it's going to take more than the 2 sessions, and it'll take a week. She said, give me a chance. So she calmed me down and took me back and did the same thing almost that she did the first session. So I left there feeling a little more calmer, and I was to go back the following day on a Thursday. And when I got there that time, Your Honor, we went back to the therapy room, and the first thing she did was ask me if I knew of anyone with a man with an oval face, a beard, long hair, and lots of wrinkles. And I said, no. And she said, well, could it have been your deceased son? And I said, no, my son was young, and he didn't have a beard. And she said, well, I didn't get a real good look, but she said it may have just had a mustache, because I told her my son had a mustache. The day before, she did something to me during hypnosis, of doing something with her hands. I didn't quite understand what it was. She said she realized that she had not done my feet, so she went back to do my feet. And she said when she went to do my feet, she turned and she saw this image that she had described to me, grimacing and cringing in my solar plexus.
In your stomach?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And she said she wasn't going to tell me, but she talked to her psychic daughter, and her daughter said she felt like she should discuss this with me. Well, before the last session, she asked me if it was possible during this hypnosis session if we communicated with this entity. And I said, well, sure. I mean, I felt, what the heck's going on? I said, what could it be? So during hypnosis, she would tap me on the forehead, and she'd say, now ask this person who they are and why they're here. So I said, who are you and why you're here? And no answer. And she'd tap me again for this person to answer me. And this just went on, tapping me. So at the end, I asked him, would he go away or something like that. I couldn't remember it all, but when I came out, she said, well, he did say he would go away. So we got up, the session was over. I was sort of dazed, and I even hugged her and invited her to my home. And then when I got to my truck, I just sat there for a while, and I was thinking, my God, I'm possessed.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
There are some people that believe in these psychic sightings and some people that don't.
It frightened me.
I've never had that happen to me.
And later today,
He threw Mrs. Yeager's son up in the air, and he didn't catch him. And he fell and broke both arms.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Frida Cuba says hypnotherapist Donna Arlene failed at getting her to quit smoking. She wants her money back.
Miss Cubas, what is it that you are suing Miss Arlene for?
Originally, Your Honor, I asked her for a refund so I could go to another hypnotist, someone that would hypnotize me to stop smoking and not do psychic things to me.
And what did she say?
I wasn't the one that asked her for the refund. My husband did.
You asked her for the refund?
Yes,
When did you call her, Mr. Cubas?
I believe I called her on the 21st of July, Your Honor.
Tell me about your conversation.
I explained to her that Frida was very upset and very frightened by the prognosis that she had given about the entity that was in her solar plexus. And I told her we didn't believe in that kind of thing, and I told her that I felt that Frida was entitled to a refund.
And what did she say to you?
She then said, look, I don't give refunds.
Okay. All right, Miss Arlene, I don't believe that based upon the fact that Miss Cubas may still be smoking, that she is entitled to her money back. She didn't guarantee you that you would stop smoking. She said there's a 95% chance. Well, you may fit into that 5%. Certainly, those people that use gum, patches, pills, all the things that you can get by either prescription or over the counter, if they were 100% effective, then nobody in this country should or probably would be smoking. But the truth of the matter is, some people are successful with them and some people are not. It depends upon a lot of variables. The only question that I have is, you signed on for hypnotherapy to stop smoking. I want you to get to this vision.
Okay. On the second session, when Frida came in, we did the session, and many times if I feel a person is troubled or there's negative energy around them, I do a clearance with my hands just of the energy around them before they leave. So I did that. I just brought my hands just to clear the energy around them. Okay? So I just did the clearing the energy, and as I came down to the end and went to brush away from her feet, I saw this entity. It just was, what I saw was just a circle with a man's face that looked grimacing. And it kind of surprised me because I've never had that happen to me. So when I went home that evening, I explained it to my daughter who has psychic abilities. And I just said, you know, something happened today and I'm concerned about it. So I explained to her what I saw, and she goes, I wonder why they would choose to show you that there. And I said, I don't know. And she goes, well, maybe you can help her by telling her, but ask her a couple of questions first. Ask her if she's been having a lot of pain in her solar plexus. Before that, when we first had the consultation, she had shared with me that she had used a psychic over the internet before. And we had talked about being an open spirit. So I asked her these questions, and then I told her, I said, I saw something, and I'm a little reluctant to say anything to you. But since we've talked about this before, I thought maybe it might help you if I shared it with you. It's up to you. And she goes, well, sure. Go ahead. We're both spiritual people. And I said, okay. So I explained to her what I'd seen, and I said, you know, I can't tell you anything about it because it's never happened to me before. I don't know. And
you weren't at that point, and certainly Ms. Cubas doesn't suggest at that point that you were using this as a ploy to get you to become a steady psychic customer.
I'm not sure of that, Your Honor. She did tell me I could come back.
That's different. Did she or did she not, Ms. Cubas, say to you, this has never happened to me before?
I don't remember her saying that because she frightened me so badly.
Okay. You did, Ms. Cubas, however, tell me that she asked you whether you wanted her to share with you this vision that she had had, and you said yes.
Yes, that's correct.
And you also, according to you, when you left, hugged her. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So what is it that makes you suggest, I mean, there are some people that believe in these psychic sightings and some people that don't. I can't put myself into the head of either one of those groups. But what is it that suggests to you that Miss Arlene was a charlatan?
Because I did not go to her for psychic treatment or that. I went to her to stop smoking. Not once during that session did she say anything to me about not smoking except to eat the grapes when I felt like not having a cigarette. Nothing was ever suggested to me to quit smoking or any suggestions or anything. When she told me about this psychic thing, she said, "Do you know anyone with an oval face, wrinkles, long hair, and a beard?" And I thought to myself,
you already told me that. That's
no.
Not you already told me that. Ms. Cubas, you don't have a viable lawsuit against the defendant. She is a certified hypnotherapist. She's been practicing for 8 years. That's her treatment plan. It didn't work for you. And the fact that she had this vision, I assume it was legitimate, or at least she perceived it to be legitimate. She asked you whether you wanted her to reveal it to you. You said yes. She did not follow through. I assume that she told you that her daughter has psychic ability. She discussed it with her daughter. Her daughter said it's a good thing to share with her. She shared it with you. She asked you, I'm speaking, she asked you whether or not you wanted her to share it with you. Have you gone to another hypnotherapist since?
No.
No. Are you still smoking?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, we're talking about a long time ago. How come you didn't go to somebody else?
Because it frightened me. I wanted to wait to see if I could get to find somebody reputable or that wouldn't do the psychic. Your Honor, she did not ask me anything except if I would like to communicate with this thing after she told me about it.
Ms. Cubas, 2 seconds ago you told me that you didn't remember. Now what you're telling me is you remember, and what she said to you was, do you wish me to find out what this person is, who this person is? And you said yes.
And this was after
just a second. And you said yes. You didn't say to her, no, I don't believe in that stuff. I think there's a lot of baloney. I'm here to stop smoking. You said
yes.
Yes. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
that's one of the best ways to quit smoking.
When I wanted a cigarette, just say,
Play a better game of golf.
I think I want a cigarette,
Get rid of fears, phobias.
but not now, later.
Pass tests. Do public speaking.
I think I'll have a handful of grapes.
I never told her to eat grapes.
Well, how many grapes can one person eat before they start having other problems?
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Yeager versus Sutton. Step forward, please.
Operations trainer Brenda Yeager is suing construction worker Albert Sutton for medical bills and pain and suffering on behalf of her 8-year-old son Jacob. Brenda says Jacob broke both of his arms when Albert threw him in the air and dropped him.
Why, Mr. Sutton, I hardly know what to say to you, sir. Bird, 30 seconds or less. I assume that this is the young man who was injured. They were playing a game, some sort of a game in a park. Miss Yeager is going to tell me, what kind of game was it?
Soccer practice.
Soccer practice. And Mr. Sutton has a child?
Yes.
Who was also at the soccer practice. And during a break in the activity, Mr. Sutton was playing with the kids. He is not a bad man. He is not an evil man. He's not a malicious man. He's just, let me be kind, short-sighted. So he was throwing his son up in the air, right?
Yes.
And when he got finished throwing his son up in the air and catching him, he threw up Mrs. Yeager's son. I mean, he didn't throw up Mrs. Yeager. He threw Mrs. Yeager's son up in the air. And he didn't catch him. And he fell and broke both arms. That's what happened.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And he was in casts, and he was out of commission for a while. When did this happen?
October 28th, 2003.
And Ms. Yeager is suing Mr. Sutton for $5,000 for both their out-of-pocket medical expenses and for pain and suffering. So now that I've given you the backdrop, because this is not difficult, the facts were not difficult, they were almost conceded by the parties, Mr. Sutton, I will hear you.
When my son had his break, he asked me to throw him up in the air. I caught him. Other kids saw it. They asked their parents if they could do it. I threw up 4 or 5 other kids before I got to Jacob. Jacob, I threw up. He pushed off my chest. I couldn't catch him or get to him as quick as possible. And that's when he fell and hit the ground. But he asked his dad for permission, because my son even saw him go over and ask him and hurt him.
Did you give permission to Mr. Sutton to throw your son up in the air?
No, ma'am.
Tell me your name.
Matt Riceback.
What did you hear, Matt?
I heard Jacob walk up to his dad, and he asked his dad, he said, "Dad, could that guy throw me up?" And his dad said, "Yeah."
Sit down. Okay, I like analogies. Let's say you were a very experienced archer. And what you used to do with your son was you would have him sit under a tree and put an apple on top of his head. And split the apple in 2 with your bow and arrow. And your son was used to that. And he would sit there very quietly, very still, and you thought it was okay to do that. And then Jacob said, "Oh, I want to do that." And let's say I believe your son, which I don't, that he heard him go over to his father and said, "Could I sit under a tree and let Mr. Sutton put an apple on top of my head and try to knock it off with an arrow?" And his father, in some psychotic break, said, "Sure." And Jacob sat under the tree. He put an apple on his head. Unfortunately, Jacob wasn't as good at it as your son, and he zigged. And you got him instead of the apple. Whose fault would that be? Jacob's?
No, ma'am.
His father's?
No, ma'am.
You get my point? Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of fine.
Sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Mr. McMahon, how long have you and the defendant been married?
11 years before separation.
Altogether, how many years have you been married?
20 years.
And how long has it been since the two of you lived together?
9.
You have children?
Yes.
How many children?
1.
How old is that child?
He's 17.
Your complaint says that your wife flooded your boat while she was out on the lake. Your boat was out on the lake, and she decided to sort of vandalize your boat while she was in her wave runner. That's what the case is about, that she seized the motor because she flooded the boat, and you want her to pay for the damage to the boat. But I have a few questions before I get there. When I read in your complaint that you and the defendant were separated for almost 10 years, I wondered why two people, if they're separated for almost 10 years, are not divorced.
Well, it was filed in 96, and...
Who filed for divorce in 1996?
I did.
Okay.
So it's gone on for mostly assets, whose is what it's worth. It's gone to mediation, status conference hearings year after year. We're presently mediation. They should have the following report. Should be ended.
Are you a
this
very
month.
rich man?
No, ma'am.
Are you a very rich woman?
No.
Well, then what are we arguing about?
I don't know.
What are we arguing about?
Well, we had quite a bit of assets.
Like what?
We had a business together. We had been together for 20 years, so...
No, you haven't been together for 20 years. You've been together 11 years.
Well, we lived together for a few years before, but we had vehicles and a lot of assets through our business.
Miss McMahon, how old are you?
I'm 48.
So that at the time that you and your husband separated, you were 39 years old. Is that right? A young woman. And you want a divorce?
Yes.
How old are you?
50.
You have a girlfriend?
Yes.
Is that this lady?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been together?
4 years now.
You have a boyfriend?
Yes, I do.
How long have you been together?
About a year.
It's time.
Yes, ma'am.
I know. You two people are taking that very precious window. If you think of it this way, you're close to 50. For almost 20% of your life, you've been feuding. I mean, if you think about it. If you think about the fact that you don't grow up really until you're 20, and you're almost 50, that means for almost a third of your life, you've been feuding. You A little less than that. Is that ridiculous? Ridiculous! Do you have lawyers?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a lawyer?
Not anymore because I've spent so much money on attorneys.
Right. Crazy people. All right. Tell me about this flooding of your boat.
Well, as in the police report, we spend a year every year at the river for 10 days.
Who does?
My girlfriend and myself. So on the second day of our vacation, I went for a boat ride in the morning and the boat wasn't running right, so I was adjusting the idle. The next thing I know, a wall of water hits me, almost knocks me out of the boat, and the engine locks up.
And that was your wife.
Yes.
And did you see how she sprayed your boat and you with a wall of water?
Well, at the time I didn't see it because I was working on the engine, but when everything cleared and settled down, I looked and there she was on the wave runner with her soon-to-be daughter-in-law. And I yelled at her, I said, "You idiot, you have no idea what you've just done." And she says, "You happens at the river," and drove off.
Nice.
Very nice.
And your boat was damaged?
Very much so, yes.
Tell me about it.
Well, after the bilge pumps came on, we had to bail the water out to keep it from sinking because it's been swamped before by bigger boats and it sank, so she knew what she was doing. We put it on the trailer. We had to walk on the trailer because the engine didn't run.
You have a picture of this boat?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it, please? While I'm looking at it, how big is this river?
It's 17 miles long from dam to dam.
So it's a big river.
Yes, Colorado
You just
River.
happened to find yourself in the same place at the same time?
No, the mediator explained to us that he let her know we were going on vacation and weren't available for a court appearance, and I think it was intentional that she was there at the same time we were.
Oh, so you had a court appearance?
Yes, and we canceled because of our vacation and our work schedules. We went to the river, and we missed the court date, and obviously he told her that where we were going to be.
How long in advance was this court date scheduled?
Probably 60 days.
So 2 months?
Yeah.
And you had to pick that time to go on vacation? Don't you want to get this whole process over with?
Oh, I'd love to.
So why'd you go on vacation when you had a court appearance?
Well, because we weren't ready for the status conference hearing. The mediator wasn't ready, wasn't done with his
like
report.
what? What did you need?
I needed him to finish his report, and he couldn't finish it.
Finish
in
his
that
report
time.
about what?
About the business assets. We had an auto repair business that lasted a whole year and a half, and Mrs. McMahon thinks it's worth millions of dollars.
And did you sell it?
No. Just closed
Well,
the
what do you
doors
think
on
happened to the business?
He actually moved the business to his residence
Yeah.
in Carlsbad from our business in Oceanside. The lot that we had there was over an acre lot, so he had plenty of room to do auto repairs.
You're not talking about, you know, Boeing.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He sued me for paternity on our son.
Oh, you thought that it might not be your child?
Biologically, he's not my child. No.
Oh, my goodness, how you people screwed up your lives. I just can't believe it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Steve McMahon says his estranged wife, Cheryl McMahon, flooded his boat, nearly sinking it. Cheryl says the incident was instigated by Steve's anger.
Madam, you're talking about, at best, a little mom-and-pop operation out of his house. Is that what you are holding hope of getting millions of dollars out of?
No. What I hope to is to get a loan paid off that Mr. McMahon made for this business. That was my hopes.
Okay, and is it a loan that you're responsible for?
Both of us are responsible for it.
Have you been paying it?
Yes, ma'am.
Have you been paying it?
Yes, I paid up to 97 or 98.
Well, that's a long time ago. Who's been paying it since 97?
I don't know.
I have.
You have?
Yes.
How much?
It's like $19,000 I've paid against it.
Since 1997?
Yes.
Do you know that?
Well, the loan was only for $20,000, and we paid on it for almost 2 years before that. So I.
Yeah, but you know that could have been interest. You know, now she says
No, there was
she
no
said,
interest. It was
shh. Listen to me. What she says is she just wants to be absolved of at least half of this debt.
May I respond?
Yeah, sure.
This is why we're going through all these years of court proceedings, because all the receipts and checks and canceled, everything we present in the matter of this loan is fraudulent. So it goes on.
Just one
and
second.
on.
You have $19,000 that she said she's paid so far. Anything else owing on the loan?
Yes, ma'am.
How much?
I think it's about $7,000 or $8,000 right now.
What is that, just interest?
It was a 15-year loan. and our payments were $225 a month.
Okay, so the first couple of years you paid Mr. McMahon, forget it. You know, I mean, that's ancient history. Okay? There's this big piece left. Why don't you just cut it in half and say this was a marital debt, over, finished. Pay it and goodbye. Did you pay a lawyer more than $15,000 over the last 9 years?
Actually, I couldn't answer that question because I haven't got a bill from him, but I'm sure it's going to be expensive.
Ma'am?
What?
It cost him $13,000 to take me to court for paternity.
Take you to court for what paternity?
He sued me for paternity on our son.
Oh, you thought that it might not be your child? Is that what you're telling me?
Biologically, he's not my child, no.
Was that established in the paternity test?
Because the way the law is written in California, if you raise a child over 2 years, he automatically becomes your responsibility.
Have you been supporting him?
Yes.
Well, oh my goodness, how you people screwed up your lives. I just can't believe it. And I have a sense that if I saw you back here in 10 years, you're going to be in the same spot. Just frittering away your whole lives over spite and meanness and nastiness and stupidity. Instead of just putting a period and moving on and saying, listen, I have a chance to have the rest of my life free and clear. Let me just do it. All this is money, and it's not major money. It's just, I've been paying it anyway. Let me just get over it. Here's some money. Here's my half. Goodbye and good luck. Let me have a happy life. Listen, how did it come about that you flooded his boat? You flooded his boat, right?
I did get water on his boat, yeah.
Good. Okay. So now you're going to tell me how it came about that you flooded his boat.
Well, on August 13th, and to get back to the vacation, I vacationed out there that week because it's my birthday week every year since Steve and I separated. So he was very aware that I was going to be out there. I had no idea he was going to be out there.
Just tell me why you flooded his boat.
So our son went upriver on the wave runner, came back down and said, Dad's upriver. Can I go up there and ride in the boat? Well, because there's stipulations regarding the girlfriend on visitation, I needed to make sure that it was okay through Steve.
Why? What's wrong with the girlfriend?
Well, there's been drug and alcohol problems.
Well, did you ask your son whether the girlfriend was in the boat?
He didn't see her.
So then his father was alone in the boat. So what'd you have to go up there for?
Well, I needed to make sure that things were appropriate up there.
What does that mean? His father was out on the river in a boat. He's 17 years old.
No, he's 16.
See, he's 16 years old, and he wanted to go on the boat with his father.
Can I respond to that?
No.
Okay.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Steve McMahon claims his wife, Cheryl McMahon, sank his ski boat out of revenge.
Go ahead.
So I went up along with Terry, my girlfriend. There was nobody. The boat was in the water. At that time, I took some pictures of the boat.
Why?
So that I could go back and show the court that the boat was in running operations. We were supposed to have it appraised out, but Mr. McMahon wouldn't agree to that. So we had to get a court order for that.
So you just happened to have a camera on your wave runner.
Mm-hmm.
You just happened to have a camera on your wave. Just a second. On your wave runner when you went up river with this lady. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, I always have a camera in there.
Always have a camera. Keep going.
Okay. He wasn't there. I went back down to camp. A little while later, I went for a ride, and I wasn't planning on seeing Mr. McMahon at that time, with Jessica. And we went upriver, and then on our way back, we seen that Steve was sitting in the boat.
Yes.
And I started to go closer to him.
Why?
Well, because I was going to ask him if it was okay for Stephen to be up there. And at that time, when he looked up and seen that it was me, he raised his hand up over his head with a tool or something, like he was going to throw it at it, and he's yelling at us to get that out of there.
Yes.
And so at that point, Jessica was screaming. I was concerned that he was going to hit me with something or hit Jessica. So I turned the wave runner and splashed him.
What a baloney
Went back
story.
to
What
camp.
a baloney story. I never heard such a baloney story in my life, Mr. McMahon. You know, if you spend 10 years of your life angry, men fare better physically when they get when they're angry. Women get all these nasty lines and they get to look much older than their years. If you spend so much of your life being bitter, I suggest you get over it. How much did it cost to fix your boat?
$3,400.80.
How much is the boat worth?
Well, it was appraised at $8,000.
Let me see.
The appraisal or the receipt?
Both.
I don't have an appraisal. Because she had it done, I never got a copy of it.
Just a second. When did you buy this boat?
1976.
Listen to me. I'm not a stupid person. The boat's 30 years old. Show me an appraisal, sir.
I don't have a copy of the appraisal.
How large is this boat?
She can verify the appraisal. Her appraiser did the work.
Just a minute. How large is this boat?
It's an 18-foot. It's a classic V-drive. It goes up in value.
A classic.
It goes up in value.
Okay. Let me see the paid bill. How long was your boat out of commission after this flooding?
All summer, the rest of the season.
Had it been running prior thereto?
Oh, yes.
Judge Judy?
Yes.
Can I give you a receipt from, a letter from CarQuest that's stating that that invoice that he gave you is not an invoice that they can locate?
Oh, yeah,
or that date?
I'd love to see that.
And that they use generated, computer-generated receipts.
Can I see that, please?
I can also show you...
Show this to the plaintiff, please.
Can I respond to that as well without looking at it? This is brought
Sure
to
can before I give him a call.
Brought to my attention. Go ahead. Brought to my attention this yesterday from the harassing phone calls that she made to CarQuest corporate headquarters. Now, this is the mechanic that repaired the boat who works for CarQuest, but he uses their format for his own receipts. Here's a letter from the mechanic that works for CarQuest.
Just a second. Let me see it.
It's a private individual that was between him and I.
Well, you're talking about this guy.
Yes, has nothing to do with CarQuest.
So what you're telling me now is that despite the fact that you're using CarQuest invoice, CarQuest did not do the work on this boat. Someone who worked for CarQuest did this work for you on his own time.
That's correct.
And just used one of their forms in order to show how much money you spent on the boat. Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me?
That's the receipt he gave me, yeah.
Is that what you're telling me?
That's the receipt he gave me.
And this is what you're giving me. You didn't tell me that that was the case. You gave me something with a card, which would lead me to believe, sir, that this company prepared this receipt, and that's a lie. Is that right?
I don't know. He gave me the receipt. I don't think
Just
it's a
listen
lie.
to me. You just said to me, this is somebody that didn't do it while they were working for CarQuest. This is somebody who did it on his own time. He just used one of their invoices.
Well, he used it. I didn't use it. It's a discontinued work order from CarQuest that he uses for his own personal use.
You're slippery. Did you take the boat to CarQuest?
No, I took it to his house. But he works for CarQuest. I didn't even think anything about it.
You want to know something?
Yes.
I believe that you spent some money to fix this boat. And I was prepared to rule in your favor. Because I think that she purposely and maliciously damaged your boat. That's what you did. You were angry and you purposely and maliciously damaged his boat. You flooded it. You knew you flooded it. I don't believe your baloney story about making sure that the boat was safe for your 16-year-old son when you went up there with somebody with a camera in hand on a wave runner. People usually don't do that. And you went up there to take a picture, according to you, of the boat in the water because you wanted it for the purpose of appraisal. So I don't believe you. And I believe that you purposely flooded his boat. I think that you presented me with a false document. And people who present courts with false documents don't get cut any slack, Mr. McMahon. You understand me?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're going to pay for this boat yourself. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. Yes, case number 242 on the calendar in the matter of Hale, Stevens versus Gutierrez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Mr. Stevens, Miss Gutierrez and you used to be an item. You were boyfriend and girlfriend for a while. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you are currently attached to Miss Hale.
I'm currently seeing Miss Hale. That is correct.
According to the complaint that I have, the two of you say that Miss Gutierrez did not accept the breakup well, and she has embarked upon a course of conduct that is harassment. She's vandalized your property. She's repeatedly written notes, spray painted your car, spray painted your house, and you want her to stop this harassment. You have a series of police reports, 7 or 8 of them, over a period of several months. You want $4,000 in damages. Ms. Gutierrez says there is no way that she's responsible for any of the damage that you claim. As a matter of fact, she can prove that to me because she was hospitalized and she had just undergone some major surgery at a time when you claim she was running around spray painting your house. And she is counterclaiming because she says because of your complaints about her to the police, she lost her job. How long were you and Ms. Gutierrez together?
Approximately 26 months.
Did you live together?
No, ma'am.
And when did you stop seeing each other?
We formally broke it off December of 2003. While she was in hospital in January and February, I visited her. It was a life-threatening surgery. During that time, I was very explicit that I didn't want to maintain a relationship as a boyfriend-girlfriend.
You mean right after her surgery?
Correct.
That was in 04, January and February of 04.
Yes.
Okay.
The last time I actually spoke to her about the relationship was probably the earliest part of June.
Well, between January and February and the early part of June, were you together? Did you see each other?
We went on a camping trip in May as friends.
How do you go on a camping trip
Well,
with
we were
somebody?
going to try the experience. We
Listen to me.
Yes, ma'am.
How do you go with somebody on a camping trip in May that you're told you don't want a relationship with several months before, and then tell me you went as friends?
The reason was I don't believe that that's usually a healthy thing, but I thought that she would be mature about it.
Be mature about what?
To be able to be a friend after you've been in a deep relationship with someone, and to handle it as friends.
So you decided to handle it as friends by going away on a camping trip together. Now, let me ask you about this camping trip. How many people went on the camping trip?
It was just the two of us.
And And did you have one tent or two?
We had one tent.
And did you share that tent, or did you sleep on the sofa?
No, we shared the tent.
Were you intimate during the course of this camping
No,
trip?
ma'am, we were not.
Is that true?
That's correct. It's kind of hard to do anything in a tent.
Where there's a will, there's a way. So what happened during this trip in May?
Well, we talked about a lot of things. I told her she still had feelings for me and voiced that to me, and I told her that I didn't want to continue, that I wanted to start seeing other people, and I encouraged her to do the same.
How long was this camping trip?
It was just a weekend.
When did you have this conversation with her, on Friday or Sunday?
In regard to?
Not wanting to have a relationship with her anymore.
Well, it had been sort of ongoing. I can't recall it like a specific time.
Your Honor, we never talked about it. We went out and had a good time. The following weekend was Memorial Weekend. I spent the entire holiday weekend with them.
That sound right, sir?
I only recall the camping trip.
Well, let's try to recall the following weekend. She said she spent the entire weekend with you.
I know that
Steve,
what I do...
She's going to be able to prove everything that she says. I want you to trust me, so I want you to think hard. We're not talking about so long ago, sir. You went camping. She says the following weekend was Memorial Weekend, and you spent the entire weekend with him. Is that right? Where?
At his home.
At his home?
Yes.
Not in your home?
Friday through Monday.
You didn't have a tent there where it was difficult?
We slept in the same bed, Your Honor.
Think hard.
I am, Your Honor, and I do not recall that. I'm being completely, brutally honest with you, Your
Okay,
Honor.
well, if you don't recall it, she does.
I do, Your Honor.
Okay, so what happened at the end of that Memorial Day weekend, Ms. Gutierrez?
We just had a good weekend. We made a nice steak dinner that night. Always ate underneath his hut. He's got a beautiful yard.
Well, when did he tell you that it was over?
We never talked about it.
How did you find out it was over?
On June 2nd, he was supposed to go with me to a Japanese dinner with a friend of mine, and he backed out. After dinner, I went to the club looking for him.
What club?
It's the Texas Tux.
Is that where he works?
That's where he picks up his women.
Did you find him?
No, ma'am.
When did you speak to him, if at all, for him to tell you that it was over?
A week and a half after he met Annette on June 5th. He was seeing her, but I didn't know anything about it until a week and a half later.
Miss Hale, when did you meet Mr. Stevens?
June 12th.
6/12.
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you meet him?
I met him at the Tux with some friends.
At the Texas Tux?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were immediately attracted to him?
We got along well. Great conversation. Over the next few weeks, we would meet for a drink or dinner or, and that was it.
Did he tell you that he had been in a long-term relationship?
Sure did.
What did he tell you about it?
He had been broke up with her since December 14th.
Okay, that's what he told you?
Mm-hmm.
That he had been out of the relationship for at least 6 months?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you now know that that's not true.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you know that before today?
No, ma'am.
We're getting on with
Yes.
this because I want you to hear this, Miss Hale. Before you put all your eggs in his basket, I want you to understand what you're dealing with.
Okay.
Bad enough that one lady got snookered. You don't want that to happen twice.
Mm-mm.
And he will.
Shh.
Sorry.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You understand that the lady standing next to you has certain questions to ask you about what kind of character you have.
Well, ma'am, I'm an Eagle Scout, and I've tried to be as forthright and honest with her about a lot of these issues.
He never was honest with me. I found that out just recently.
He's an Eagle Scout.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Stevens and his girlfriend Annette Hale claim John's ex-girlfriend Janie Gutierrez has been spray painting obscenities on Annette's car.
Now, Mr. Stevens, Miss Hale tells me that you told her that you were in a long-term relationship which terminated in December.
That's when it formally terminated. That's when we had a
That's not what you told me 2 minutes ago, sir.
No, but I'm just saying, what happened, that was the formal end of the romantic relationship. I did have a continued relationship, but it was not a romantic one with Miss Gutierrez.
Well, maybe you weren't romantic, sir. Did you tell Miss Hale that you had been on a camping trip with her?
I told Miss Hale about a lot of...
Did you tell her you had been on a camping trip with her 2 weeks before?
I don't recall if I told her about the camping
Well,
trip.
let's see. Did he tell you about the camping trip?
Yes, ma'am, but I was not aware they were alone. I was aware that there were a lot of people.
Oh, well, tell me about what he told you about the camping trip.
I thought they had gone with friends on a camping trip and that it was strictly friendly and that was it. And she couldn't accept that, and so he told her they couldn't be friends. That's what I was told. Yes.
There isn't a question in my mind, Miss Hale, that on Memorial Day weekend, they spent the weekend together. Because she remembers it down to what they had for dinner, and he just doesn't remember.
Exactly.
Just doesn't remember that. Could have happened, but he doesn't remember it.
Right.
Okay, now, Miss Hale, I'd like you to tell me what kind of vandalism you suffered and when.
Okay. The first one started on June 25th. I have police reports.
Can I see it, please?
Pictures.
Was there a word written here? I can't tell what it says.
It starts, but it just never gets to that last letter.
Okay. Well, this happened June 25th. What proof do you have that Miss Gutierrez caused this damage to your car?
Well, I have 2 other police reports. The painting happened 2 other times to my car. I have pictures of it also. And the fact that on July 31st, we were trying to wait up and watch for her since it was becoming every week. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, the dog started going crazy, and she was out in the driveway with a can of spray paint.
But, Your Honor, she neglected to tell you that I got a prank joke from the police officer at 3:30 in the morning. They said that they had a witness for me spray painting the garage in her car, and they told me if I didn't come to the scene and bring my spray paint to the scene, if I had any spray paint, to bring it, otherwise they would arrest me. He made the prank call. So I came up there with the can of spray paint that was never used, at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Did you call her?
No, ma'am.
That doesn't sound right to me, Miss Gutierrez.
It is, Judge Judy. They woke me up at 3:30 in the morning.
Where did you get a can of spray paint?
I bought 3 cans 6 years ago. It took 2 cans to spray one of my piece of furniture.
What color?
It was a burgundy.
Miss Gutierrez.
But the 3rd paint can I never used. I used both of them on the piece of furniture 6 years ago.
What color was the...
The 3rd time was burgundy.
Can I see it, please?
And the same night, 25 miles away, she painted his garage burgundy. And we have pictures.
Yeah. Some pictures of my garage.
The gold paint was the 2nd time. That was the 3rd with the burgundy on his garage.
What date was this?
That one was July the 16th, the burgundy paint.
Now, Ms. Gutierrez, according to your answer, you say that it was impossible for you to have done this on the 16th of July because you had either just had surgery or you were recuperating from major surgery. What kind of surgery?
I broke my neck in January. I was paralyzed.
Until when?
I just got the machine off the back of my neck last week, and also my PICC line that I've had since January.
Well, that didn't prevent you from getting around in July. You were not bedridden in July.
I was on a machine, and I had home care come 3 times a week.
That doesn't make any sense.
I was restricted to
You're not
working
answering
back
my
home.
question. Were you mobile during the month of July?
Yes, ma'am.
Of course, because at some point in July, you went over to the house at 4 o'clock in the morning, right?
When I got the phone call.
When you got the phone call, you were able to get up out of your house and go over to his house with a can of spray paint. So you were, in fact, mobile. So there was nothing physiologically wrong with you that precluded you from getting into a car and traveling, unless somebody drove you there. Did somebody drive you there?
No, ma'am.
You drove yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Miss Gutierrez, I would have been very angry with him, too.
But not enough for me to spray paint, Your Honor. I'm not violent.
That's not being violent. Not violent. It's being vindictive. It's a criminal act. It's not per se a violent act. But I don't see why you would want to spray paint her car. She got snookered in by this guy.
I have nothing against her, Your Honor.
Of course not. You shouldn't. The only thing that you both suffer from is from terrible judgment. You understand that the lady standing next to you has certain questions to ask you about what kind of character you have after today.
Well, ma'am, I'm an Eagle Scout, and I've tried to be as forthright and honest with her about a lot of these issues.
He never was honest with me. I found that out just recently.
He's an Eagle Scout.
Doesn't mean I'm perfect, Your
They're going
Honor.
to take your badges away from you, Mr. Stevens. How much did it cost you to clean up your car?
Well, we kept using different methods to get the paint off, but I've got estimates. It's practically down to the metal because 3 times getting paint off, it takes it away. So I've got 2 estimates and an estimate from Hertz on renting a car while it's getting fixed.
Did you get the paint off your garage door, Mr. Stevens?
Yes, ma'am, I did. I used some chemicals, but it's left it down to taking the top coating off.
So I think you ought to get a can of paint. And while you're painting, I think you should keep repeating to yourself, I cannot tell a lie, I will always tell the truth. I am an Eagle Scout. See what kind of trouble you cause when you're not honest with people?
Ma'am,
Mr.
I've tried to be
Stevens?
honest throughout this ordeal.
No. Let me explain something to you, Mr. Stevens. If you told this lady back in January and February that you were no longer interested in a relationship with her, and she could not accept that, that would have been her problem. But if you were waffling around until you found something better and took her away on a camping trip, and then the following weekend either shared her bed or allowed her to share yours with a view towards perhaps I have nothing better to do this weekend, that means that what you are doing is you are playing fast and loose with somebody else's emotions. And that, sir, is very cruel. And then when you meet this lady, you give her a whole bunch of junk, painting a picture to her that is not accurate, because I'm sure that when she was suffering this damage to her car, you were telling her, I don't know what's wrong with her. I broke up with her in December. That's 7 months ago. She just can't accept it. She didn't know that you were leading her on over the course of the next 6 or 7 months, up until a couple of months before this happened. She didn't know that. That's not being honest, sir. And sometimes damage comes from not being honest. So I suggest you go out there and get yourself a can of paint, put on some jeans, and paint your garage doors. You get $1,400 to paint your car. Judgment for the plaintiff, and your counterclaim is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Obviously, there's a relationship that broke apart and someone couldn't let go.
It destroyed me because my plans were to marry him.
I don't think I got the whole truth from either one of them.
Sort of painted me today like I was very untruthful and not upfront and honest.
He lied not only to me, but his new girlfriend.
I feel like I'm a victim in this.
My advice to her is she needs to check out someone's history thoroughly before jumping in bed with them.
I shouldn't have to live in fear where someone's going to come by, destroy my property, and come over at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I hope this is the end of it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bowman versus Schmelzer, step forward, please.
20-year-old student Elizabeth Bowman is suing her ex-boyfriend, 19-year-old student Mark Schmelzer, for an unpaid cell phone bill and cancellation fees. Mark says all he wants is for Elizabeth to leave him alone.
Miss Bowman, the defendant was your boyfriend for a period of time. During the time he was your boyfriend, you got a cell phone, you signed the contract, you gave him a cell phone, you broke up with him, you got back the cell phone, but you had certain charges on the cell phone, including a turn-in fee for his cell phone and a breach of contract for the service, so you want him to pay for that. That's what the case is about,
Correct.
right? When did you get the phone?
May of last year.
And when you got the phone and signed the contract, how old was Mr. Schmelzer?
Yes.
17.
17. And why didn't he get a contract?
Because he wasn't 18. You can't unless you're 18.
And why is that?
Can't be held accountable.
Right. You can't be held liable on a contract if you are a minor. And that's why he didn't sign the contract, right?
Correct.
That's why he can't make a contract with you. Do you understand?
Yes.
Got it? Do you understand that you have no case?
Yes.
Okay, good. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Miss Adams, on what date did this accident happen?
December 16th.
What time?
Approximately 10:15 p.m.
What kind of a car were you driving?
A 93 Saturn.
According to your complaint, the defendant's dog ran out into the middle of the road. Your car hit the dog. A lot of damage was caused to your car that you want the defendants to pay for.
Yes, ma'am.
Unfortunately, the dog was killed, not immediately, after the dog was hit by your car. And they say that you were probably going too fast. They are counterclaiming for the pain and suffering that they felt when their dog died and for the value of the dog. What kind of a street is this?
It's a residential. It's a very narrow residential street.
Do you live in that neighborhood?
No.
What were you doing there?
I had taken some paperwork to my friend that lives around the corner from them.
Is there lighting in the streets?
It's not a lot of lighting, no. It's not as bright as a busy street.
Tell me what happened.
I had left my friend's house. I pulled around the corner, and it was approximately 6 houses down. This dog ran out in front of me. I don't even think I had a chance to hit my brakes when I hit it. It ran between two cars, and I was there.
Were there cars parked on the side of the street?
Oh, yeah. It's a very busy street. It's a tight street.
So there were cars parked, and the dog ran out in between the cars?
Yes.
What was your dog doing out without a leash?
I wasn't there at the time, but...
Okay, so you don't know. Who was, who was there?
Well, my neighbor, my guest neighbor, he was there. He saw everything what happened.
Just a second.
Sorry.
Were you there?
No.
Well, who was there?
My witness, him.
I was right there.
Tell me what your name is.
My name is Gerardo Cruz.
Mr. Cruz, were you taking care of the dog?
No, it was in 10:15 p.m. Excuse me.
You answer my questions.
Okay.
First, put your hands down. Were you taking care of the dog?
Yes, I was.
You just told me no. Were you taking care of the dog, or were you not taking care of the dog?
Yes, I was taking care of the dog.
Okay. What was the dog doing without a leash?
Well, he followed me out to the street. It was approximately 4:50, between 4:30 and 5 o'clock when that lady ran
I don't care what
over the
time
dog.
it was. First of all, what kind of dog is this?
It's a Rottweiler.
So it's a big dog.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was this big dog doing in your care without a leash?
Had gone out to the street.
For what?
To get a football across the street.
You went out to go get a football across the street.
Yes.
And?
And I picked it up, and the dog followed me accidentally. It gets out to the street. And I was talking to my elderly neighbor that lives right in front of my house when I saw the dog coming towards me, so I told him, go back. So he was going back. Approximately, the car was coming 40 to 50 miles per hour when the impact.
Sit down. Did you leave him in charge of your house?
He's my guest house.
He lives in
my
the
house. But I got a guest home.
He lives in the back of our
back
house,
of my house.
in our guest home.
So he was in charge of your dog?
Well, we're not there at the moment.
At the time, he was the only one that was there and seeing everything with
What
my neighbor.
Let me hear. Listen to me. When you weren't home, where did you put your dog?
On the backyard.
And his house is in the backyard?
Yes.
Yeah.
So if he goes out and the dog is not chained or anything, he's just in the backyard.
Yes.
He let the dog out.
Yeah.
He let the dog out.
Yeah.
So, what do you want from her? You got a big Rottweiler. He walks out to get a football, goes across the streets talking to somebody. He's not paying attention. He doesn't know whether he's a foot or horseback. He lets your big dog come out, and your dog gets hit by a car.
How come she drive 45 or 50 miles per
You
hour?
weren't, madam, let me explain something to you. You weren't there. You weren't there. It's his fault, not her fault. It's his fault. And if he made up a story that the car was speeding, that just to make himself feel better because of his negligence, the dog got out of the backyard and the dog got hit. Dogs are stupid. They're not smart. Dog doesn't say, oh, I could get hit by a car if I ran out between these two cars. It sees somebody that they knew walking out, followed him. He doesn't turn around before he crosses the street and say, oh, I left the gate open. The dog followed me out. I better go put the dog back inside or get a leash. No, 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 no. He goes over to talk to a neighbor, right? Very smart, very intelligent. Let me see the damage to the car, please.
Here's the estimate. I already paid for that. That's been paid for the radiator.
What did you do after the dog came in contact with your car?
After I hit the dog, I got out to see if the dog was okay, and the dog got up and took off running. So I asked him to stay with the car, and I followed the dog. Well, the dog jumped into a yard, and there was a gentleman, nobody here, but there was a gentleman standing in the front yard that didn't speak Spanish. And I said, is somebody here?
Didn't speak English.
I mean, I'm sorry, I only spoke Spanish. Didn't speak English. And a little girl ran in the house and asked some lady to come out who spoke English. So I said, is that your dog? And she said, yes. I said, well, I just hit it, and I said, I've got damage to my new car, and I said, I'd like to have it taken care of. At which point she said, okay. We walked over. She looked at my car, and she said, that's not my dog. That belongs to my father-in-law. I said, okay. So I said, can I have his number? They gave me a business card, and I said, okay. They said, call tomorrow. So I called the next morning. He wasn't there. So I called for several days, and finally I went over there, and I spoke to this gentleman right here, and he threatened me with bodily injury.
My God.
Me and my household.
That's a lie.
That's not a lie.
Your Honor, that's a lie.
Your Honor, I had a witness. I had a witness that's in the hospital.
Listen to me. I'm going to give you a chance to respond. So I don't want you. Pay careful attention where you are. You're in a courtroom. You're not outside. She's going to testify. Then you're going to have a chance to rebut what she says. All right?
I had a witness. He's in the hospital. He
I'm not
today.
interested in seeing
And then here's a letter from my mother that I was on a speakerphone.
I'm not interested in a letter from your mother.
Okay. They just threatened me over the phone, too. At which point, my mom's very ill, and I can't put my mom through that, so we moved.
Damages are about $3,000 to the car. It was done?
I also missed a hospital appointment 2 days later because my car was out of commission that I was supposed to have a
Should have
surgery.
taken a cab. Don't be ridiculous.
It's
Don't
in
pad it.
Hawthorne.
I'm
disabled.
to me.
I have no money.
Listen to me.
Okay.
Don't pad it.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Genius over here doesn't call the vet immediately, doesn't call a hospital immediately to take the dog over. He lets the dog bleed to death for 6 hours.
And later today,
she jabs his stick into the truck a couple times. She said something about, my man stayed all night with you last night. I was like, your man ain't stayed all night with me. I have no clue what you're talking about or who the F you are.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Helen Adams says Alex Contreras and his mother Ana Maria Asensio owe for damage to her car when she ran over their dog. Alex and his mom say Helen was driving too fast.
I don't think that you were going 50 or 60 miles an hour down that street. I think that he said that just to make himself feel a little bit better because he's really responsible for the dog getting killed. Put your hand down.
I was going to say so.
I'm not interested. If I were interested, I know what it means. I didn't think you had to go to the
but
bathroom,
you're saying
sir.
he's lying. I was there
Listen
too.
to
I'm
me,
in the
sir.
same neighborhood.
Listen to me, sir. It's his fault that the dog got killed. He left the gate open and allowed the dog to get out. If he were careful and left his house and closed the gate, then the dog wouldn't have had an opportunity to run out between two parked cars and get killed. It's his fault.
Their dog jumps the fence.
I'm
sorry.
That's not what he said happened. Do you understand?
Yes.
I'm just curious about something. The dog got back to your house. Did you take the dog to the vet?
Yeah, it was too late. So we had called sanitation, animal control, and by the time it was, I don't know, by the time, I wasn't there, man, to tell you the truth, but no, I got there 4 or 5 days later, because she was...
Got there 4 or 5 days later?
Because she was...
Quiet. When you realized the dog had been hit, did you call a vet immediately?
No.
What time did you get home?
Around 10.
Around 10 o'clock at night. Where was the dog?
He was over there bleeding.
So according to this gentleman, this happened 4 o'clock in the afternoon. The dog was still alive when you came home at 10 o'clock. That's what you said?
Bleeding.
Yeah, of course, bleeding from 4 o'clock in the afternoon, according to this genius.
To tell you the truth, I don't know if he was dead or not because I don't take care of the dog. Only my son, and you know them, because I don't...
Pay careful attention to me. He testified that this happened at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. He walked out of the yard, leaving the door open. The dog came out, the dog got hit. Right? The dog is bleeding. Genius over here doesn't call the vet immediately, doesn't call a hospital immediately to take the dog over. He lets the dog bleed to death for 6 hours. I mean, this is somebody...
I know,
I understand. Do you have children?
Yes, I do.
Don't let him take care of your children.
No, my children, I take care of
No,
them.
don't let him take care of your
no.
children. Good.
No,
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
All right, guys, excuse you may step out.
The problem was the dog was big. If I'd have been going faster, it would have busted my windshield because he came up on my hood.
She got up, oh, whose F dog is this? Who's F the F owner? Who's this? Who's that? Come on.
They said, no problem, we'll take care of it. And then they just, all of a sudden, everything changed after they saw the damage done to my car.
She knows she's lying. Obviously, she's lying.
They threatened me with bodily injury to me and my household.
She said I threatened her. That's the first lie. If anything, she threatened me.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Stewart versus Cobb. Step forward, please.
Store manager Sandra Stewart is suing dietary aide Lynn Cobb for damaging her rental truck when she beat it with a stick. Lynn says she caught Sandra with her boyfriend.
All right, Miss Stewart, one evening you were sitting in a truck that you had rented. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning?
After 3.
And you were sitting in your truck with the handsome and affable Bruce, who happened to at that time have been her boyfriend.
Correct.
You didn't know her.
No.
And according to your complaint, Miss Cobb is out looking for Bruce and finds you and Bruce sitting in your rental truck.
Correct.
And proceeds to go ballistic on your truck.
Correct.
Hitting it with a stick and causing a whole bunch of damage for which you are responsible to the rental company, and they are billing you some $624. And you want Miss Cobb to pay.
Correct.
Miss Cobb says she didn't hit your truck, she just hit you. So tell me when this was and what you were doing sitting with the handsome and affable and I see absent Bruce.
Right. It happened on August the 31st of this year at my job. I was working for the Star and Press. My position was a field rep. I come in at 1 a.m., Bruce comes in at 3 a.m.
So you're like a dispatcher of newspapers?
Correct.
Okay, so go ahead.
Bruce comes in about 3:15. 5 or 6 minutes after Bruce was in the truck with me, we hear this little noisy car. A couple seconds later, this automobile pulls up in the tunnel, because we're in the tunnel. She jumps out of the car. I don't know what
she... the defendant.
Right. She comes over to the truck, and she says something to Bruce. Something about out all night long or something. I looks over at Bruce, and I ask Bruce, who the F is this? Bruce, who is this? Well, she has this stick that it's probably the length of this table right here. Nice size. It's like a tree branch. It once used to be a tree branch, but it's been shellacked and fixed up all kind of pretty, like a walking stick. She jabs this stick into the truck a couple times, babbling something. Don't know what she was saying.
Through the passenger door? Through the
no,
passenger-
driver's door. I'm in the driver's seat.
Oh, you're in the driver's door.
Right. Bruce gets out of the truck from the passenger side. He gets out of the truck. He walks around the front of the truck. Well, she said, "You the one that my husband spent the night with?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about?" Our bags out of the passenger seat, out through the passenger door, backwards. She says at the back of the truck, "Itch, I'm going to do this. Itch, I'm going to do this." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She said something about, "My man stayed all night with you last night." And I was like, "Your man ain't stayed all night with me. I have no clue what you're talking about or who the F you are." Go ahead. Bruce goes toward her. She swings this stick, and it hits the back of the truck, the top part of the truck. It hits the back of the truck.
Did she ever hit you?
No. No.
Never hit you. Did she
No.
ever hit Bruce?
No, she swung at him the first time with the stick, and that's where she hit the truck. She didn't hit him.
Did she eventually get back in her car?
Bruce tackled her some kind of way and kind of threw her in the car to where she was on her backside. Bruce was on top of her. She puts the car in drive that she's driving. She runs over Bruce's foot. She puts it back in reverse. She hits him, knocks him down, comes back forward where he has sit down flat, runs over his leg, tries to get out of the tunnel, couldn't get out, hung a U-turn and come back the other way to get out.
Was an ambulance called?
Yes, for Bruce.
Was he taken to the hospital?
No, he wouldn't go.
He's been run over 3 times, according to your story.
She ran over his foot, she hit him, knocked him down, came back forward, across him.
Okay, let's go.
I did not hit her truck. We was running around the truck.
What were you doing there?
I came to see who he was with.
Why?
Because I wanted to know.
You married to him?
No. But we've been together 11 years. I wanted to know.
Why were you angry with her?
What she's not telling is that I had called him on his cell phone, and we had our talk or whatever. He didn't turn his cell phone off. So I heard the whole conversation of what was going on, blase scoop, blase scoop. Okay.
So, what are you mad at her for?
I was mad at both of them.
What are you mad at her for?
Because she was with my husband.
Just a second. A, you don't have a husband.
Well, she was with my boyfriend.
Well, so you be mad at him? How do you know
I'm
what he
mad at
told
him,
her?
too.
How do you know what he told her?
Okay.
How do you know what he told her?
I don't know what he told her then.
Right, so what are you mad at her for?
Okay. I'm not mad at her then.
And where did Bruce go on the 31st of August?
He went to work, I guess.
And did he come home?
Yeah, eventually.
So the two of you made up?
We made up eventually, but, you know.
He came home?
Yeah, he came home.
Can I see the damage to the truck, please?
And Judge Judy, there's another automobile, my truck, she damaged Monday night, this Monday night.
Just for my information, where was your car or truck that you damaged this past Monday night?
I stopped at my sister's before going home to get things together. It's like 8:45 p.m. Went into my sister's house, came back out about 5 minutes till 9. She approached me from behind this building. I had my 2-year-old by the hand. She walked in front of me. She says, "Now what? Now what? What about tomorrow?" I calls my sister name because she always watches go to the automobile. I said, "Lauren, come get my baby." She stepped right out of the door, grabbed my baby. "Sandra, what's wrong?" I said, "Just get my baby." Then she sees Lynn. She says, "No, you got somewhere to go. You got a plane to catch. Come on in the house. We're going to call the police." When I come back out with the baby, after I gave the report with the police, come back out to get the baby, the police is in the parking lot next to my Ford Explorer. Says, "Sandra, look, my tires are cut and my truck is keyed."
I'm not going to ask her to respond to that because this is a complaint that's still open. But I certainly think that if it's true, Ms. Cobb, if any part of it is true, that if you even saw her on Monday night, you're making a big mistake. Because you want to know something? Old Bruce isn't worth it.
Sure ain't.
I just want you to think. You have children?
Yeah.
How old are your children?
My children are grown.
Well, your grown children don't want to have to come and visit you in a lockup.
Right.
Ms. Cobb, I have to make a judgment, and I have to make a judgment that if someone is angry enough to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, go out in their car and search for their boyfriend, who they believe has been fooling around with somebody else, and they find them in a truck, that if I am to believe you, did absolutely nothing as a result of that. Now, Miss Stewart would seem to me is a relatively normal person. If you had hit her with this stick, as you suggest, rather than hitting your truck, there is no way that the police would have let you go. So I have to make a judgment whether I believe that you did nothing. And I don't believe that you did nothing. I believe that you did something. And I believe that you damaged the truck that she was driving in. Now, the rental car company is charging her for these marks that were made on the truck $624.65, and I believe that you are responsible for that. And I'm going to reiterate, Ms. Cobb, you don't seem like a bad person.
Matter of Young versus LaChance.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. Be seated.
I usually don't like to prejudge things, Mr. LaChance, but I think that you're not a very honorable person. According to the complaint that I read, sir, you and the plaintiff were involved in a relationship. You thought it was going to be a solid one. You signed a lease on an apartment, correct?
Correct.
And after 3 weeks, the thing didn't work out.
Correct.
And you agreed that she would leave, and you would stay in the apartment.
I was staying in the apartment, yes.
And when you were staying in the apartment, according to the plaintiff, you were staying with someone whose name was?
Jacob Canard.
You were staying with someone whose name was Jacob. And when she left, according to her, Jacob was paying her half of the rent so that you weren't out any additional money. Then, according to the plaintiff, you told her you were moving out of the apartment. So far correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And she didn't want to ruin her credit, so she picked up the rent and paid the rent, right?
Yes, ma'am.
When she goes to the apartment to get something, she sees all your stuff there because you had moved back in. But you let her pay the rest of the rent, believing that he was out of the apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
Your excuse is that you were forced to pay the rent yourself for 7 months because of her, and therefore you decided that she should pay the rest of the rent.
Her name's on that lease. She's just as liable as I am.
Mr. LaChance, in what month did you sign the lease?
We signed that in May of 2006.
And she left in May of 2006.
She left June 2nd, 2006.
6/2. Did she pay May's rent?
Actually, I paid it.
You mean you paid it alone?
I paid it alone, yes.
Why is that?
I had recently come into some money at about the end of April playing online poker. It's what we used to move out here. It covered all our moving trucks.
So you paid the May rent?
Correct.
Okay. Now, when did Jacob move in?
Jacob was with us from the beginning.
And how much was the rent in the apartment?
$569 a month.
And how much was Jacob paying?
He was not paying for any of the rent.
And how long did you let him stay?
He stayed until November.
So you're telling me you did not try to find another roommate between June and November because you were letting Jacob stay there rent-free?
Correct.
Now I'm going to respond to your statement.
Okay.
The reason you had to pay the rent is because your behind was sleeping in the apartment. Hers was not. And you had a roommate who should have been paying half the rent.
From July till November, he was never home. It was predominantly a storage space for his stuff. I helped him out every now and then. He was
Then it's your
never,
responsibility, sir, to find another roommate.
I was unable to find another roommate.
Show me what efforts you made to find another roommate.
I had friends at work.
Now
tried
let's
to
go
make
a little
some
further, Mr. LaChance.
I don't
When
have
did you?
anybody
I'm
in
speaking
town.
to you. When did you call Miss Young and tell her that you were moving out of the apartment?
I was finally able to get a hold of her. It would have been end of November.
And you told her you were moving out in December?
Yes, ma'am.
And had you paid November's rent?
At that point,
Oh, it's not an answer, sir. Did you pay November's rent?
November was paid, yes.
And you moved out in December?
Yes, ma'am.
And you paid December's rent?
Yes, ma'am. It was actually a lot more. Okay.
So you called her and let her know that you were moving out in December, and if she wanted to keep her credit, she better start paying the rent.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you move back to the apartment, Mr. LaChance?
I moved back in January of 2007.
So you were out of the apartment for 1 month.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you call and tell her you moved back?
I was unable to get a hold of her.
Did you call and
I
tell
called.
her you moved back into the apartment?
I called, yes.
So that I assume you paid January's rent.
I did not pay January's rent.
I assume you paid February's rent.
I did not pay February.
That's why I told you when we started this case that I thought your behavior was abominable because it was dishonest, totally dishonest. Moving out is one thing. Saying, listen, I'm moving out of the apartment. Your name's on the lease, my name's on the lease. I lived here for the last few months, so I paid the rent. But now I'm moving out, just like you moved out. So I think if we want to both keep our credits intact, maybe you don't need it, because if you make a living doing online poker, maybe you don't need your credit intact. She does. So maybe we should just join forces, pay this lease out, and whatever. But that's not what you did. You were able to contact her when you wanted to move out. But when you moved back and knew that she was going to be paying the rent and you were going to be living there rent-free, then you couldn't contact her. That's not very nice, sir. Now, when did you find out he was still living there?
I had the locks changed March 26th, and he
called
called
So
me.
you paid December, January, February, and March.
Yes, ma'am. I also paid April.
And April. When did you go and check the apartment?
Well, I moved back to Florida, and the apartment's in Texas, so I couldn't just go there. So I was talking through the apartment complex, and I said, I want to have the locks changed because I believe someone's still living there.
What made you think someone was still living there?
Because once he stopped paying the electric bill, it went back into the apartment's name, so they were getting the bill, and she was sending it to me. So if there's electric, someone's living there. So I said, I would like to have the locks changed. I paid the $25, and I got a call from Raymond that night saying...
I'm an authorized tenant in that place. There was no reason to have me
Mr.
locked out.
LaChance, don't you understand? You did something that was amoral, dishonest. Dishonest. Don't you get it?
To me, dishonest was leaving 3 weeks into the lease.
No, Mr.
She committed
LaChance, that's ridiculous, sir. You weren't getting along. I don't even care why you weren't getting along. You were dishonest. You said, I'm moving out, and then you moved back without telling her. And the only time you contacted her again, and you were able to contact her again, you said, I couldn't call and tell her I was moving back because I couldn't contact her. So you were able to call her when you were moving out, and you were able to call her after she changed the locks. But you couldn't call her that critical time to tell her you were moving back into the apartment. She didn't have to pay the rent anymore.
I had left voicemails. I had sent
Listen to
messages.
me. Dishonest. What kind of work do you do?
I am a waiter at a restaurant.
What else do you do?
I play online poker.
Dishonest. So you owe her for rent for 5 months. You also owe her for the electricity while you were there. How much?
It was $2,100.
Now, it's my understanding from your complaint that you have a witness who was able to testify that for the first few months after you left, the rent was paid.
Yes, ma'am.
Call the witness.
I would like Jacob Knudsen to come out.
You swear to tell the truth in these matters?
Yes, sir.
State your name for the record, please.
Jacob Knudsen.
Okay. Do you live in the apartment with Mr. LaChance from June until December?
I left early November, but yes, June is correct.
When you were there in June, July, August, September, and October, those 5 months, did you contribute to the rent?
Most of the time. The only month that I was not able to contribute to my full share of the rent was the beginning of October, due to the fact that I lost my job.
I don't care why you didn't contribute in the month of October. You didn't contribute in the month of October. Yes. You paid rent in June?
Yes.
How much?
$285, my half.
And you gave that to him in check or cash?
Cash.
That was June. What about July?
Yes.
You paid him in July?
Yes.
August?
Yes.
The full amount, to either
$285, yes.
What about September?
September, yes.
But not October?
No.
And what happened in November?
November, I was still out of work, and I contacted my mother and borrowed $400 from her in order to pay my half at the beginning of November. I have a Western Union voucher right here.
Can I see it, please?
Yes. The Western Union voucher that states that I got $400 from my mother in order to pay my half of the bills.
So if Mr. LaChance said that you were there and you stayed there sporadically...
I was not home very much, yes.
And that you did not pay any rent to him at all, would that be the truth or a lie, sir?
A lie.
And you were his friend?
Yes.
Who do you know longer?
I know them both about the same amount of time.
But you stayed with him?
Yes.
When she left?
Yes, in order to help him with the bills.
Perfect. Good. Anything else you want to say to me? Anybody? Perfect. You owe her $2,100, Mr. LaChance, because you're a dishonest person. Because you're a dishonest person, I'm dismissing your counterclaim for half of the expenses for the time that it is clear that you had help with the rent, because that's what your counterclaim is mainly about. You will always come into contact with people, Mr. LaChance, in this life that are smarter than you are. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You must step out.
I was very depressed. I didn't like the way he was leaving me every night.
She was away from her family. She didn't have a job. I did my best to comfort her.
Instead of comforting me like he said he did, he never did. He just left and went out drinking and with other girls.
I had made some other friends. I was trying to introduce her to a new life. She wouldn't have it.
We went to the bar one night and he invited the girl that he had been seeing and said he would pay for her drinks.
All I wanted to do was show up here and tell the truth. I didn't want to take sides in this situation because they're both my friends.
I paid for my 7 months. It's her turn.
The fact of the matter is one's lying and one's not. And I guess today we found out who won.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Riskin versus Robinson. Step forward.
26-year-old Noah Riskin is suing his ex-girlfriend, 22-year-old Lindsay Robinson, for her share of a backpacking trip through Europe. Lindsay claims the trip was a gift.
Mr. Riskin, Miss Robinson used to be your girlfriend.
Correct.
And it is your claim that you took a backpacking trip to Europe
Yes,
and you advanced some money for Miss Robinson, who was supposed to pay you back.
correct.
Miss Robinson says the trip was a treat, your treat, and there was never any discussion about paying you back for the trip. And she is counterclaiming, she alleges you have some property of hers, a baby book, and she wants some punitive damages because she says you are stalking her. How long were you a couple?
For 7 months.
From when to when?
From mid-June, I believe it was, up until Valentine's Day.
And when was the trip?
We left on January 20th, returned February 19th.
So you were really a couple from June until January, because when I understand from reading your papers that when you took this trip, you each went your own way for a good part of the trip. You traveled independently. It wasn't a romantic getaway for the two of you, right?
Correct.
You didn't live together, did you?
We did.
You were living together.
Yes.
You had enough of each other from June to January. You wanted to be a little separated?
My intention of going to England and Scotland was to backpack, to go as many places as I could. Lindsay told me that she wanted to get a feel for life out there and stay in York for a week or two.
Wonderful. Terrific. How come you advanced the money?
Lindsay came up to me after the tickets were purchased and said that she had talked to some friends of her back home, and they told her that she needed roughly $1,000 American dollars per week, conversion rate being about 51 cents per pound. I'm sorry, $1 per 51 pence.
Please, let's move on.
She did not have that money. I offered a loan.
I asked you what was said. Don't say I said to her, I will give you a loan. I want to hear what was said by her and what was said by you. Do you understand? And if it doesn't sound right, it's usually not true, Mr. Riskin. You get it?
I did.
Good.
So I went ahead and loaned her the $2,500.
Okay, Miss Robinson, since he can't get it together, I want you to tell me how it came about that you, A, took money from him for the tickets, and B, took money from him for spending. I think it was $2,500.
Yes.
Tell me how it came about.
He told me he was going. I told him I couldn't go with him. He asked me to go. I said
I want you to keep your voice up and speak slowly so that I can hear you.
Okay. He said he was going to Europe on a backpacking trip. I said, I can't go with you. I was going to use the month to move out anyway. He said, go with me, go with me.
You were going to use the what? I don't hear you. Okay, Miss Robinson, I want you to tell me how it came about that you took money from him for the tickets and took money from him for spending.
The month that he was going, I said I'm going to move out and see where it goes from there. So
Look at me.
I told him to let me know when he bought the tickets and I would make a decision because he kept asking and asking. So when I called him, he said he bought 2 tickets. I'd said no and he bought the ticket anyway. As far as money goes, I told him, well, I still don't have the money to go, and he offered to give me money for that too. We went to the bank together. He deposited it into my account.
What's wrong with you?
I listened to him, I guess.
No, you didn't listen to him, I guess. If you were not happy with him and if you were moving out, why did you take all that money from him?
Because
why?
Because I thought he was doing a nice thing. He told me it was going to be a gift, and I believed him. And he told me he didn't want the money
That's not
back.
my question to you. I'm talking about being a moral person. Let's say I believe you, which I'm not sure I do. Let's say I believe you. Why would you, since you knew that he was anxious for you to go, since you knew that he was anxious for you, perhaps not to break up this relationship that you had had for 7 months, why would you, knowing what you knew, take money from him? Because as soon as you came back, you broke up, right? Right?
Before we got back, we broke up.
Well, before, but you already got yourself there on his ticket, and you already had $2,500 of his money.
Yeah.
Well, that's wrong.
I know. I know. I thought it was something that it wasn't, and I should have listened to my gut. I thought we had an understanding, and we didn't.
What kind of understanding?
We discussed it before, and we had the understanding that it wasn't going to be romantic, that we were both going to go our separate ways, and that it was a gift. Because I told him I couldn't go over and over, and he insisted that he wanted to do something nice for me. He called my dad and told him about it. He told my best friends about it. Knowing that we would break up, he told them that. And so I thought we had an understanding.
I want to tell you something. If it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. What nice thing had you done for him?
I don't know. I was with him. I mean...
Well, he was with you. You mean that's a gift that you were with him?
We just had...
What kind of spectacular thing do you have that other people don't have?
Nothing.
Huh?
Nothing.
Nothing. I didn't think so. I mean, what do you bring to the table that millions of other people don't bring? Why in the world would you think that he would invest a whole bunch of money in taking you away if he didn't think that by doing that, perhaps you could rekindle your relationship.
That's what he did think. I know it is.
Then you did the wrong thing by taking it, knowing that it wasn't going to work.
I didn't. Okay.
How much was the ticket?
The ticket was $531.
And how much cash did you give her?
$2,500.
Okay. Forget the incidentals. You're lucky we're going where we're going. Do you understand? I'm going to hear your counterclaim. And I must tell you, Miss Robinson, I have other things to do today. You want your baby book back?
I want my, yes.
Why did you take her baby book?
The baby book was actually left. When she had moved out, she left everything that she did not want. A number of magazines, old shoes, etc. that she did not want. She just left them for me to clean up. I found them, and I did notify her that I had these items. She has not made any effort to pick them up for me, to send anyone to pick them up. I still have them.
What are they?
A baby book and a childhood photo album that I saved from the trash pile.
Why did you leave them?
That's not true. First of all, I got home and all my stuff was on the porch the same night we got back. He locked me out so that I couldn't get in and took my key. Everything that was on the porch, I took. Everything that wasn't mine, like the magazines, I left there, yeah, because he threw it all on the porch. So
on what date?
That would be the 19th, the night of the 19th, the night we got back.
What else?
He basically, after the breakup, I don't know what happened, but he became very different. He would show up at my work at least twice a week. And
yes? And what?
And just hover around. He would pull friends out of work and tell them about everything that happened between us. And
no, get over it. You owe him $3,031. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. 338 on the calendar in the matter of Kaiser versus Garza. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
Miss Kaiser, the defendant is your boyfriend's niece.
Correct.
Boyfriend?
Yes.
Niece.
Correct.
And it is your claim that she vandalized your car by keying it.
Correct.
According to you, Miss Garza, your uncle was highly inebriated. And he couldn't drive home from a club or a party that you were at?
That's correct.
So you and a friend decided to drive him home.
Yes, ma'am.
Where he was living with the plaintiff.
Yes, ma'am.
And what date was this? Do you remember?
We had went out on Thursday, it was July the 20th, and we left the club approximately at about 2:30 in the morning.
Were you with your uncle?
No, I was there with a friend, and we ran into him.
What made you think he was too drunk to drive home?
Because he was stumbling, and the guy from the door had taken his keys because he had parked right in front of the door.
So you volunteered to drive his car home?
That's correct.
What happened when you got to the house?
When we got to the house, Marianne had locked the door, and he was upset. We had to help him up the stairs. He started banging on the door. She came out. She started cursing and yelling that I had him out, and she was just saying all sorts of types of stuff. And we just helped him in the apartment. She kept telling us that we had to leave, and she was yelling at us. And my uncle was wanting us to stay there because he wanted us to drink another beer with him. And I was telling him...
That was the last thing you needed.
I was telling him that I had to go because I had to go home to my baby. And she was telling me to leave, and my uncle was persistent. And then they got into altercation. We proceeded towards the door. My friend opened the door. When she opened the door slammed because it was kind of windy outside. And she started cursing again. We were walking down the stairs. We just ignored her because she looked intoxicated herself. She was yelling at us down the stairs, and we just ignored her because she was making an idiot out of herself.
Okay. And you went home?
That's correct.
Okay. So your boyfriend went out that night?
Right.
Had he asked you to join him?
No.
Were you annoyed with him?
We were mad at each other at the time. So he decided to leave on his own, so he went.
And they came home?
They came home at approximately 2:35 in the morning.
Go ahead.
They stood at the door. When I opened the door, I said, "What are they doing here?" And he said, "Well, they're here to have a drink with me." And I said, "Well, they're not going to have a drink with you." She said, "Well, I had to drive him home." And I said, "Well, fine, thank you, give me the keys." So I get the keys. They still step in. I stood by the door, and I told him, "You're not going to have another beer, so you might as well leave." Then I asked him, I said, "Who is this other girl?" He goes, "I don't know. It's her friend." And she goes, "My friend Lori." I said, "What are you doing bringing strangers home?" And then he goes, "Well,
you
they
were
just
wrong
gave..."
at that. You were wrong at that point.
And I asked him...
Because you didn't know the story.
That she drove him home?
You didn't know the whole story. I mean, if she was with her friend, and they were leaving the club,
well, they
and
were
he was drunk, and he was drunk, they weren't together.
Well, she had already told me.
Why are you being aggressive to her at all?
Because her and I do not communicate.
So
she drove him home fine. I said, "Thank you, give me the keys." She gave them to me, and I said, "You guys can go home. You're not going to have another beer."
Okay, go ahead. No, she didn't
Not
say...
now.
No, listen to me, Miss Kaiser. She didn't say she was going to have another beer. Your drunken boyfriend said...
She said he wants us to have another beer. I said, you're not going to have another beer. So I repeatedly asked them to leave again and again, and they still wouldn't. So then I started, getting upset. Yes, I did. Her friend Lori slams the door open, rushes down the stairs. She starts cursing me, and she goes after her, doing the same thing, too, downstairs. So I did it up here. I did it up here, too, yes. A few minutes later, I go try to move my truck from the back to the front, and I see them keying my truck. So I didn't say anything. I let them do it. I came back in, came to get him. He was out already.
You said that you saw them keying
Yes.
your truck? What were you going out to move your truck for at 2:30?
I was going to move it to the front.
Why?
Because I don't normally park it in the back. I always park it at the front. But there was no parking space at the time.
Yeah.
When they left, I saw that there was a space right there, so I went to go move my truck. And there they were.
3 o'clock in the morning?
I'm sorry?
At 3 o'clock in the morning?
At 3 o'clock in the morning, I just decided to go move it, and there they were. And it was a good thing I did. I saw them.
What did you see her do?
Writing all kinds of things on my truck. They were keying it, both of them.
Let me see the damage to the truck. You file a police report?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
I'd like to see it, please.
One of her favorite words is on my truck, too.
Is this the only police report you have, Miss Kaiser?
Yes, ma'am.
And you spoke to somebody on the phone? Or
Yes,
did you
ma'am.
go there?
No, I spoke to them over the phone. She said, you might as well just give me everything over the phone because they're not going to do anything about it.
That's not true.
No, well, they were going to do the same procedure she was going to do with me over the phone.
The police would have done something about it, Miss Kaiser, if you had said to them on the phone, I saw who did the damage. But you didn't say that to the police.
Yes, I told them.
No, you didn't. I contacted Miss Kaiser by phone in reference to the criminal mischief. Victim 1, that's you, believes Miss Garza involved party 1 and an acquaintance may have done the listed damage to the vehicle while it was parked at the above location, but is not sure.
They did do these damages to my truck.
Victim 1 stated that there are some vulgar words
And
keyed on the
Georgia
vehicle.
knows. She knows that they did it. I
That's
know
not
it.
my question, Miss Kaiser. You give a police report. If you say to the police, my car was vandalized and I saw the perpetrators do it, then they write down perpetrator 1 keyed car, perpetrator 2 keyed car. I'm going to read to you again what the police department says you told them on the phone. Victim 1 believes Miss Garza and an acquaintance may have done the damage to her vehicle while it was parked at the above location, but is not sure.
I told them I know it was them.
You didn't tell them that you saw them do the damage, Miss
Yes, I did.
Kaiser.
I saw
No,
them.
you didn't.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marianne Kaiser says her boyfriend's niece, Georgia Garza, keyed nasty slurs into the side of her truck.
Now, I'm not saying that they didn't do it. I want you to trust me. I'm not saying that they didn't do it. I'm saying that you just lied to me when you said you saw them do it. Because you didn't see them do it. You surmised that they did it because the car was in one condition when you parked it. It was in this condition the next day when you went out to look at it, not at 3 o'clock in the morning, but the next day when you went out to look at it or when you went to drive it. And the only ones who had an opportunity, an inclination to do the damage was her.
Right.
And her friend.
They did it.
But, Miss Kaiser, I want you to try to pay attention. I'm not saying they didn't do it. I'm saying you lied to me when you told me a moment ago that you saw them do it. Because if you saw them do it, that's what you would have told the police, and you didn't. You said you believe it was her, you believe it was her girlfriend, but you're not sure, which is why they didn't go out and arrest them. Now I'm going to get to you. You keyed her car.
No.
Oh, yes, you did. Oh, honey, yes, you did.
Why would I key her car if I don't even talk to her? Let there be one idiot, not two. She was the one yelling at the top of her lungs.
Miss Garza, there isn't a question in my mind that you keyed her car. You and your girlfriend keyed her car because you were out at the club all night, probably had a couple of drinks. You left your baby home, so you had to rush home to your baby at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's normal. But here you did a good deed by driving your uncle home, and what you were met with was this lady who was being very unpleasant to you. Unpleasant, rude,
right?
No question. Threw you out of the house. You drove your uncle home. You went out of your way. She was nasty to your girlfriend. She was nasty to you. You got outside, and you keyed her car.
Your Honor, she works at a bar. It could have been anybody.
Could have been, but I'm telling you it wasn't. It was you. Let me see the damage. Can I see the bill to fix the car, please? Now, ordinarily, Miss Kaiser, I want to tell you something. I would throw you out. I want you to listen carefully. And so would most judges throw you out if you come into court and you don't tell the truth. They would say, I don't care whether your claim is a valid one or not. You come into court and you lie. I'm not going to entertain your case. But in this particular case, since I am 100% certain that she and her girlfriend caused the damage to your car, and since there also isn't a question in my mind that the police said to you, if you didn't see who actually did it, then you just surmise it's her. There's nothing that we can do, because that's what you told them. You figured if you came into court and said to me, I saw her, then you would have your car fixed. Don't go into court and lie. You lie to a judge once, usually you don't get a second chance. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
All right. What year truck is this?
It's a 94 Chevrolet.
So you have no insurance on the car?
Yes, I do, but I didn't go that route because I wanted her to pay.
Oh, no. What's your deductible on the car?
$500.
Good. Go that route. It may be a little more difficult for you. It may be a little more costly for you in the long run, but your lie's got to cost you something. So go have the car fixed. You got a $500 deductible, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Nobody likes her. She just wants to blame me and my friend.
They wouldn't leave, so.
She was the one making an idiot out of herself, not us.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Gilbertson versus Johnson. Step forward, please.
33-year-old esthetician Vernita Gilbertson is suing former client, 42-year-old safety engineer Taryn Johnson, for unpaid house-sitting fees. Taryn says Vernita didn't do her job.
Miss Gilbertson, the defendant hired you to house/dog sit while she was on vacation. You made an arrangement. I think she was to be gone, according to your complaint, for 10 days.
Yes.
She was going to pay you $20 a day. It is your claim that you did your job. She came back from vacation and did not pay you.
Correct.
The defendant says you didn't do your job, so she's not going to pay you.
Okay.
How did you find this job?
Taryn was a client of mine at the wellness spa, and she came in for treatment, and we had talked about her going away on vacation with her mother, and I offered my services, and she agreed.
Were you supposed to stay at her home or just check on the home?
I was supposed to stay in the home.
What kind of a dog does she have?
Is her dachshunds?
Dachshunds, two of them.
Okay.
When was she leaving?
May 9th.
Did you stay in the house from the 9th until the 19th?
Excluding the 15th, which is the Tuesday. We were there. I took care of the dogs in the morning, and then in the evening we returned about 7 o'clock. And
Who's we?
My daughter and I. And then we decided to go into the jacuzzi about 9 o'clock. We invited two friends over. They came, and we went in the jacuzzi for about an hour. And then we decided to leave because there was all sorts of weird stuff going on. The TV went on by itself. The lights started flickering. I was like, that's it. We're out of here.
So what did you do?
We left. I made sure the dogs were secure. They had food, and then we left.
Did you stay there on the 16th?
Yes.
And the 17th?
I stayed until the 19th, until it was agreed upon.
So?
So, on the Wednesday morning following the night of the jacuzzi party and whatnot, I got a call from my neighbor right here, Don Sohegan, calling me, telling me that there had been a party in my property the night before that disturbed her as well as the neighbors on the other side of my house, and that she was awakened by my dogs crying outside the house approximately 2 a.m. that morning.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Dawn Sohegan. First of all, I had only seen her come to the house once. I get up early and I go
Well,
to
she
bed
had
and
to have been there because the dogs would be dead after 10 days of not being fed or
Right,
walked.
but they're also on medication, and there are certain times of the day that she needs to be there, which she wasn't there at
7
those
and
times of
7.
the day.
Go ahead.
Then when the party happened, and it was a school night, a work night, what have you, and they're out carrying on in the jacuzzi, which it's late.
How many people did you see in the jacuzzi?
4.
So she's correct. There were 4 people.
And Judge, let me just add that I made it very clear that no one else was to be in the house because I have a swimming pool because of liability reasons.
Okay. What time did they finally leave the jacuzzi?
I really don't know that because I did go into my house and go to sleep.
What time?
I went to sleep a little after 10.
And then you didn't hear them anymore?
Not until about 1:30.
What happened at 1:30?
At 1:30, they had relocated the party inside the house, which her family room was right next to my bedroom window.
You mean the party of 4 people?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was awoken again at 1:30 in the morning. By 2 o'clock, they were leaving, but they left every single light on in the house, and the dogs were crying. They have a doggy door, but they were sitting on the steps crying and crying and crying.
So the next morning you called the defendant?
The next morning, I called her answering machine.
Did you contact the plaintiff at that time?
Yes, I contacted the plaintiff as well as my other friend, Paula Williams, who has a key to my home. She went to the house, and I don't know if Paula would like to indicate what happened when she went to the house.
You went to the house the next day on the 16th?
I went to Taryn's house on the Wednesday because
The
I was so
16th.
worried about the dogs. When I drove up, all the exterior lights were on. There were lights on everywhere in the house, and the dogs were running loose. The beds looked exactly as they normally do, and Taryn makes them up. The blankets, pillows,
No,
sheets
she
hadn't
hasn't
been
clearly.
ruffled.
Miss Gilbertson had not slept there on the 15th. She said she did not sleep there.
No, it looked exactly like it does when Taryn makes up
We
the
didn't
bed.
sleep in the bedroom.
Just a second. The 2 dogs were there?
The 2 dogs were there running in the house.
And they appeared to be fed?
The dogs were fed. There was food and water there.
Okay. So, other than the fact that the lights were on in the house, the house looked okay?
The lights were on in the house, but the towels had not been used that day.
I didn't ask. Had not been used. I'm asking you, other
Not
than the fact that
showering
the
then.
lights were on,
The lights were on.
the house was in, according to you, pristine condition.
No, she chewed the comforter.
Just a second.
It was in pristine condition.
Right. What you're saying to me was in such pristine condition, it's hard to imagine that anybody had slept there.
Correct.
Okay. I understand that. But the house was in pristine condition.
Yes,
The
it
dogs
was.
were okay.
Yes, they were.
Fine. What else?
I stayed at the house until 10 o'clock that night, and that's when Vernita and her daughter came.
Okay. Miss Johnson, did you tell Miss Gilbertson when you spoke to her after this party that she had on the 15th that you didn't want her to go back to the house?
No, because she had a key, and I was afraid of what might happen.
You did not tell her not to go back.
That's correct.
Well, then you have to pay her.
She didn't complete the duties. I had to change the. She never brought my key. I had to change the locks.
I tried to
She
contact
left
you.
the dogs loose in the house. They shredded a comforter.
Listen, you were away for 10 days. You didn't fire her on the spot on the 15th. If you'd done that and said, listen, I'm outraged, I'm going to pay you up until the 15th. Don't bother to come back.
Well, why would I do? I put myself in danger. The woman had a key to my home.
She doesn't look dangerous to me.
I don't know her.
If you don't know her, then you don't give her a key to your house.
I don't know.
If you don't know her,
I didn't know at that point in time
if you
until she
don't-
didn't do what she said she was going to do, and had people in the home that I asked her for liability reasons not to have people in my home when I'm
I
not there.
don't, listen to me. I don't disagree with you, but if you have an employee that you feel as if is not performing their job, then you pay them and you fire them. Now, if she had not done her job at all and didn't show up, and your dogs were in a state of dehydration, hadn't been fed, maybe we would have a story. But if you took 2 dogs to a kennel, it would have cost you more to take your dogs to a kennel where they would have been in a cage for 10 days as it was costing you to have a human being come to the house and on at least 9 out of the 10 days staying over at your house. 9 out of the 10 days because you could only establish that she was not there, sleeping there one night. So you have to pay her. Perhaps not for the one night that she didn't sleep there because you didn't do your job that one night.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That's fine.
And I don't care about this weird ghost thing, you know. You're a big...
Hey, it's true that.
You're a big girl. Anyway, she owed you $200. I'm cutting that by 20 because you didn't sleep there. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $180.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. Sworn in judge, you may be seated. Little people, have seats.
Mr. and Mrs. Musser, I've read your complaint very carefully, and I have read the response from the defendants. Because of the sensitive nature of some of the allegations in your complaint and in the answer, I'm going to ask the children leave the courtroom because unless I absolutely need them, I don't think that they should be here. Tell me your name.
DJ.
How old are you, DJ?
6.
And who is this lady sitting with you?
My grandma.
Would you like to go outside with your grandma for a little while? Good. I think that's a good idea. And who is this?
Mackenzie.
And how old are you, Mackenzie?
6.
Are you a friend of DJ's? Do you live next door? I'm going to ask you to go out with DJ's grandma, okay? She's going to take the 2 of you outside. All right? Good. Beautiful children.
You okay?
Okay. You had a puppy.
Yes, we did.
And I gather this was from a litter of puppies that you had.
Yes.
You decided to keep this puppy. It had some special medical problems, and you dealt with those medical problems and had some substantial vet bills. The little boy, DJ, is next door neighbor, and he lives with you?
He lives with me. I live with my parents.
And you're his grandfather?
Correct.
Here's Mom.
Yes.
And it is your allegation that DJ, when he was 5, is responsible for the death of your puppy while he was playing in your backyard.
Correct.
Which is a fenced-in backyard. It's your claim that he, either alone or with some other little children that he was playing with, put the puppy in a cooler and put a rock over the cooler, and the puppy must have suffocated.
Correct.
And you want the defendants to be responsible for the dog and to pay minimally all the vet bills that you had as a result of bringing your dog up until the point when she was killed, right?
Correct.
That's what the lawsuit is about.
Yes.
And I am going to assume, for the purpose of this trial, that it is true that DJ and or the little boys that he was with put the dog in the cooler. Not maliciously, because it's your claim that he was afraid the dog would get out of the fenced yard, and they just put the dog in the cooler in order to make sure that the dog didn't get away. I don't feel as if it's necessary to question this child about it, because I'm sure it's a very traumatic event. So I am going to assume for this trial that DJ did in fact cause the death of your dog. Do you both understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
And then the question becomes responsibility. Are the defendants actually responsible for his actions? So I have a few questions for you. First, how old was your dog?
The dog was only a couple months old, maybe 3 at the most.
Well, you should know.
She was born on March 6th.
She was born in March, so it was...
Almost 3 months. She was like a week away from being 3 months.
And was this dog the only one you kept from the litter?
Yes.
I also believe that their dog fathered this litter. Is that right?
We're not sure who the father is.
What kind of dog was it?
I have a dachshund, and I have pictures of the puppy.
I'd like to see the picture. What were the medical problems with the puppy?
First, the animal had suffered a broken leg, and these are pictures of the dog with the broken leg.
How did the dog suffer a broken leg?
Another neighbor child broke its leg, and they reimbursed us for the leg.
Another neighbor's child broke the leg?
Threw the puppy down because the puppy had got him dirty, and the mom felt responsible and reimbursed us for the payment of the leg.
This puppy did not have a good life. Now, did you allow the neighbor's children to come into your yard to play with the puppy?
He had come to my door one day and asked if he could play with the puppy, and I said, not with
You mean DJ?
Yes. And I said, she had just gotten her cast off. I said, I don't want you guys in my yard unless I'm there, because I felt like if her leg was already sensitive after the cast was off, I was worried about it getting rebroken or something.
So you told him that?
Yes, I told him no.
And how much before the day that the puppy died did you have that conversation with the little boy?
About 3 days before.
Now tell me what happened on the day that you found the puppy in the cooler.
I had went out to dinner with a friend of mine, and my husband called me on my cell phone and said, I had actually put the puppy out back that day because I had a Girl Scout meeting, and while the Girl Scouts were there, I said, you can't be in the house, you're not potty trained yet. So I stuck her out because we have a fenced-in yard. Here's a picture of our yard. And I had put the puppy out back, and then my husband, after the Girl Scouts left, a friend of mine and I, we went to dinner, and my husband called me and said, have you seen Frosty? And I said, no. Can you please look for her? Maybe somebody had taken her, because a lot of people had thought she was cute in the neighborhood. And that's when he was looking for her. And
I'd come home earlier that day, just after the puppy was put out, and there were the neighborhood boys in our backyard playing with the puppy. When I came in, one of the boys left, and I had gone into the house to just relax after work. And hours later, after I'd gone outside to bring the dogs in, check on the kids that were out playing, we couldn't find the one dog. We looked around the neighborhood, couldn't find the animal. We talked to several neighborhoods, and nobody had seen the animal. When I'd gone into my backyard, I noticed a rock on top of my cooler.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Melissa and Raymond Musser claim neighbor Michelle Riffle's son killed their puppy when he put the dog in a cooler. Michelle says the puppy's death was an accident.
So am I correct, Mr. Musser, that when you came home, you found some of the neighborhood children in your backyard?
Correct.
Did you tell them to leave?
No, I did not. At the time they were playing with the puppy, I didn't see any harm.
Was DJ one of those children?
Yes, he was, ma'am.
Now, what makes you think that this was an intentional act?
I don't think it was intentional, ma'am. And I don't think he did it to kill the puppy, and that's never been an issue. It was an accident. I'm sure the child did not know that this would result in the death of the puppy.
So you, by permitting the children to remain there and not telling them to leave actually gave them license to be playing with the dog.
Yes.
How many children were in the yard playing with the puppy?
When I first pulled in, there were 3.
DJ and 2 others?
Yes, ma'am. And when I had come in the gate, the one child went home. And so it was just DJ and another child left there.
About the same age, 5 years old?
Correct.
Okay. Now, who was responsible for supervising DJ on that day?
Raymond was.
Why would I be responsible for
No, don't speak, sir.
At the time that the death of the puppy, Lisa was watching my daughter and DJ when he came home from school from kindergarten after school until my mother returned home from work about 2 or 3 that afternoon.
So Mrs. Musser was watching your child
She watched my daughter and DJ when he returned from kindergarten about 12 until my
Had you
mother.
made an arrangement with her to do that before?
Yes, I did.
Was this a regular routine? Do you pay her for that service?
Since December of 2000.
Do you pay her for that service?
I did pay her.
So there was nobody in your house?
At about 3 o'clock. I don't know what time my mother came home. She's a witness today, so I don't know apparently what time she came home.
What day was this happened?
It happened on May 23rd, and I was not babysitting. I had quit before that. I had quit at the end of April, the 1st of May, because things were happening with the babysitting. I wasn't being paid on time, and I wasn't babysitting since December. It was January 1st.
And not like that, ma'am. I get off work at 4:30. It takes me an hour to get home. So I got home around 5:30, well after the time her mother was home.
Okay. Yes.
He just indicated, Your Honor, he came home early that day. He does normally come home about 4 or 5, but he indicated he came home early, saw the boys playing, so he
It
went
could have
home
been,
early.
so he got home at 3. Still after that time, your wife would have been home.
Correct.
So that somebody was home at that point. So you are mistaken that they were responsible for babysitting for
You're
your
right.
son. So your mother at that point was responsible for him. Is that right?
You're right, correct.
What time did you get home?
I usually got home about between 6:15 6:30, depending on the traffic.
And what time did you discover the puppy in the cooler?
It had to be around 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Now I'd like to see the bills that you have. How many other dogs do you have, by the way?
We have one.
Just one? Just a mother? Mm-hmm. And this little puppy?
Yes.
What did all the bills come to?
At the one point, we discussed that the bill would be taken care of by Mr. Riffle. We shook hands and made an agreement on $165. That was to take care of the major vet bill for this puppy, checkups, shots. But at one point, there was an agreement to pay $165. There was a handshake.
And what happened with that?
It never happened. What happened after that was he wanted receipts. Still nothing happened. The last time we discussed it, we went for a ride, and he wanted to pay $99 for the puppy and wanted me to have a letter rescinded or taken back or an apology letter that was sent to him by another group of animal activists.
What kind of group of animal activists?
Your Honor, it's PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. We never accepted responsibility for the death of the puppy. We wanted it to end. The reason that I'm involved is I went to them and said, we're sorry about the death of the puppy. It's a cute puppy, looked just like his dad, just a darling puppy. And we were fond of that dog. And it was traumatic for us as well as for the boys to have that happen. I went to the Mussers and I went to Raymond and said, Raymond, what can we do? And his initial response was, what we want you to do is I want the boys brought here and I want to tell them that was wrong. I was apprehensive about that, but I said I'd agree to do that. And as I started to leave, Raymond says, no, the best thing to happen is to have the parents talk to the boys and have all these boys write a letter of apology to Lisa. All 3 of those boys did that, and there is a correction. All 3 of those boys were there. If you saw the other boy leave, it's incorrect, because when my wife went out to get the boys, they're all in front of the house sitting on a rock, and I have some photographs of that. And so Raymond told me, we don't want any money for the puppy, we want an apology. They did that. All 3 of those boys cried that night.
You understand why I didn't want them in the room.
Thank you. All 3 of those little boys were they're really upset that that happened, and they did that. One little boy even took some flowers over. And so we thought the issue was over with. And then a couple days later, in a school gathering with people all around, Mrs. Musser approaches my daughter and says, we understand that your son intentionally killed that puppy, and we want $150.
Just a second. What made you think that he intentionally harmed the puppy?
I never said that. I said, the puppy died. We have expenses. I said, what can we do about it? She says, how much do you want? I said, 150 will cover what we had. And she said, will that keep you quiet then? And I said, sure. And then when I asked her about a week later, I said, are you going to pay me the 150 like you'd promised? She said, I didn't promise you I was going to pay you. I just said, would that keep you quiet?
All right,
Your Honor, that's incorrect.
All right, what happened
I
with
can
regard
tell
to
you what
the-
happened because she did it to me. She approached me and she stated that me and my husband need to talk to you. I said, about what? Well, we just found out DJ intentionally killed our puppy. I said it was an accident. She goes, putting a puppy in a cooler is an accident. She said, he's a 6-year-old boy. He doesn't understand that. I'm like, what do you want us to do? And she says, well, we sold the other puppies for $150. And I said, fine, because I did not want to deal with it with the parents there, the children there. I said, fine, turned around, she walked away. I was very shook up and very upset.
Of course. What's this thing from Peter? Just let's get to it quickly.
When Raymond indicated that he didn't think the boys intentionally killed the puppy, I went to him after this $150 incident at the school, and I said, Raymond, you told me you didn't want any money. We did what you asked us to do. Do you want money to compensate for the puppy? He again told me no. And as we got down the road, it became evident that they wanted some money for the puppy. In the meantime, we get a letter from PETA.
Can I see it, please?
And in the letter, it states, Your Honor, that they intentionally, without remorse, killed this puppy. We were heartbroken.
Now, what are you showing me here?
That was included in the letter
okay.
to
So you
indicate
got a
that
letter.
these poor 6-year-old
Okay.
children are going to be mass murderers.
Okay. All right, the letter's a little heavy, but what it says is, on May 22nd of this year, the boys apparently forced a neighbor's puppy into a cooler, weighted the lid down with bricks. We are told, and this is the people from PETA, that the children have admitted their roles in the puppy's death and that they have shown no remorse, which clearly, according to you, is not true. But then the bulk of the letter goes on to talk about the fact that children who have a history of torturing animals, unless there is intervention immediately, can grow up with serious antisocial characteristics, and therefore PETA is trying to inspire you to get help for your son if you need it. Because it says, by teaching your children compassion and empathy, you will help ensure that such incidents will not recur and that DJ and David will never find themselves in the system. It's a heavy letter. There's no question about that. They're really trying to be helpful in their own heavy way. Yeah, you can say something.
I have one more thing to say. This wasn't the first incident, not with him killing a puppy, but he had taken my daughter shoplifting, my little one, and we got a call from the store that they were shoplifting at, and my husband went and picked up Mackenzie from the store. It's like, we timed it on our car. It's almost a mile away from our house, and he had wrote me another apology note for taking her and not telling us where they were going, and that's why I was not babysitting when the puppy died, because I had it. I could not. We just had a lot of incidences with DJ and Mackenzie, and I just felt like it would be better just to...
They're 5-year-olds. 5-year-olds have to be supervised all the time, right?
Absolutely.
And clearly, at the time of this incident, your 5-year-old was not being supervised properly. That means that the person responsible, in this case your mother, who you left in charge of the child because it was when she was home from work, should have been watching more closely as to where he was and what he was doing. But, Mr. Musser, if you came home and found the children playing with your puppy, because this is not clearly a locked fence, and told them to leave, and they did leave, and then they came back at some other point, I would find the defendants totally responsible. But by your allowing, despite the fact that your wife had said to the 5-year-old, you know, don't come in today and play with the puppy because a few days earlier, because the puppy's leg is just getting better, you clearly didn't have a problem with the boys playing with the puppy, because not only did you permit it, but you left, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you two are partially responsible, because just as they are responsible for the actions of their 5-year-old, you should be responsible for what goes on in your own backyard. In this case, you allowed these children to remain in your backyard and play with the puppy. And that despite the fact that your puppy had a broken leg by the hands of another little child playing a little too rough with the puppy, which was not smart. Don't you feel any responsibility at all?
Yes, I do, ma'am.
Good.
But one other thing, you know, at the point the kids were all friends. I didn't see the harm. They weren't picking the puppy up.
Well, you didn't know that, sir. The moment that you saw them, they weren't picking the puppy up. But when you went into the house, you didn't keep your eye on them outside. Not only did you keep your eye on them, but you left. Listen, there's no question that the parents of this 5-year-old are partially responsible because he was inadequately supervised. But at the same token, you inadequately supervised this fragile puppy. So you are equally as responsible.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I have a curiosity why there were 3 boys involved and we're the only one here in court today.
I have no idea why you're the only ones here, sir. But you are the only ones here. And you have to take responsibility. There is a certain responsibility. Your wife should have been watching a 5-year-old out at play more carefully. And Mr. Musser should have been more vigilant about taking care of a small puppy, and he was not. And if the bills for this puppy added up to $165, I believe that you should each cover half of those bills because each of you is responsible for not doing your jobs. Listen, stop showing me papers. More importantly, it seems that you live next door. You're going to continue to live next door. You have kids together, and despite the fact that you say, I don't want DJ to be around my daughter because he took her to the store and they were shoplifting, been there. You have to be more vigilant in watching your children. But you're going to be there, and it's a terrible thing to have to remain next-door neighbors and not be civil to each other. So he's a nice little boy. He'll probably grow up and graduate from high school and graduate from college and be just fine. And your little girl will be none the worse for wear for a little shoplifting when she was 4. All right, I'm sure she won't do it again. Be nice to each other, be friends, watch out for your property, and make sure that your children are supervised. That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $82.50.
Hanson Shirey. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
The 4 of you know each other from high school, I assume, according to what I've read in your complaint, have known each other and disliked each other since high school.
Me and Sonny have known each other.
The 2 girls?
Yes.
According to your complaint, you were all out at the bar, out in the parking lot. Each of you claimed that the other assaulted you, and you, right?
Correct.
Okay. What day did this happen?
About 1 o'clock in the morning on the 21st of April.
And was the defendant there already when you arrived?
Yes.
Did you have any words with the defendant that day?
She said hi to me at the bar and asked me how I was, and I said I'm fine. And he got a drink, and we went back and played pool.
What happened next?
Well, we were only there for a little while playing pool. Then we walked outside, me and Chris and my friend Melanie, and I was unlocking the car door, and this girl over here walked up to me and asked me, do you have a problem with my girlfriend Sunny? Because we'd had an argument a couple months before. I said, no, I don't have a problem. And Sunny came up from around behind me and slugged me in the back of the head.
That's not true.
Shh. I didn't ask you anything yet. Go ahead.
Then her friend came over, and another gal, I don't know who she was, and they were hitting me and punching me, so I started to fight back, and I had the keys in my hand, and they were pulling my hair and pushing me, and I started...
Who's they?
Sunny and her 2 girlfriends. And
Just tell a lie.
Now sit down. Sit! In a chair. Now maybe you understand. Go ahead.
And as I was hitting her, Jason came over from behind. I felt 3 hard blows in the back of my head, and I turned around and he socked me in the eye. And then they took off. I have pictures of my injuries too.
I will look at the pictures. Did you call the police?
Yes, I did.
You have the police report?
Yes. Here's the pictures of my eye, and then some of her friends were grabbing him and trying to pull him away from helping
When
me.
she first got attacked, I grabbed her, I turned her this way, and I pulled her down and covered her head. And a couple of girls were trying to pull me off of her. And I don't know if I'm not sure if it was Jason, but he had like three of his male friends there. And they're trying to pull us off, and I got hit in the head probably 8 times. And I got some scratches on my neck.
Here's the police report too.
Who do you claim hit you in the face, giving you the black eye?
Jason.
I never
Jason.
touched her.
Yes.
What part of don't speak don't you understand?
Sorry.
My friend Melanie saw him hit me in the head too, several times.
Other than the scratch on the back of your head, did you have any injuries, Mr. Hoyt?
No, I had a lot of knots on the back of my head.
Step up. I have a few questions. You were with them that evening?
Yes, I was.
So this young lady comes up and said, you have a problem with my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Describe exactly what you saw after that.
They were arguing back and forth. I don't remember what the words that they were saying, but I just remember it started getting heated, and I saw people punching her in the back of the head. I went to go and try to stop the fight or something, and they had somebody stand in front of me saying, just let him fight, and she was like standing in front of me like this.
Nobody that's here today?
No.
All right, Sonny, tell me your version of the events.
Well, it actually all started in high school. I was your classic nerd, I guess. I was involved
Okay, so you were the nerd, they were the popular one. I got that. So
Yeah.
you didn't like her, she didn't like you.
And
whatever.
I hadn't seen her since high school until the night of March 31st, that I can recall anyway. We were up at the same bar. I was playing pool against her husband, and I was about to shoot in the 8-ball and win the game, and she was sitting behind me and hauled off and kicked me in the leg. And I actually have an affidavit if you'd like to see it from my friend that was
so that was a month before.
Yes.
You also say in your answer that she made some sort of a derogatory remark about your engagement ring.
Yeah, after she kicked me, I turned around and asked her, what was going on, and she said nothing. So I turned around, walked away, went and sat down. I was getting up to get another drink, and I walked by, and Chris, her husband, held up his ring and started saying, "Oh, look at the size of the diamond in this ring," and started making fun of my engagement ring, saying that the diamond in my ring was really
Never
small.
lie. Never lie, especially if it's not really important but just sets a tone. Was your fiancé there at the time?
Yes, it was.
Shh, just a second. Your fiancé was there at the time when you say that her husband was making not nice remarks about the size of your engagement ring.
Yes.
I assume he was really angry.
Jason?
Yes, Jason. I would get really angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was angry.
Let's all tell the truth here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I got very angry. 'Cause,
Okay, so that's a month before. Now we turn to April 21st at 1 o'clock in the morning.
We were having drinks. I saw Colette walk in. We happened to be up at the bar at the same time getting a drink. I did say hi, asked her how she was, sat back down. I thought maybe, our problems were over with and we could just have a nice evening at the bar, but evidently not. So closing time came. We went to leave the bar, but Shay actually walked out of the bar first. So if she could tell her story.
Why don't you come up and tell me your side of the story? Your last name is?
Burton.
Now, Miss Burton, you walked out first.
Yes.
And you walked up to where the plaintiff was getting into her car.
Yes.
What did you say to her?
I asked her why she was harassing my friend.
Now, that night, I haven't heard anything about harassment. She said hello. She said hello. Case closed.
My girlfriend Sarah and I were walking out of the bathroom, and she stepped in front of me, and then I looked at her like, why? And then she stepped back and she made some remark under her breath. Well, then I watched her, and she was watching us and pointing at us, going around the bar. I was just like, why does she have a problem? So I went up to ask her, why we were so important.
Why didn't you go up to ask her in the bar where there were other people? Why?
We were leaving when I decided to ask her.
Why?
It was time to go.
And then what happened?
Before I could ask her or get a response, she swung at me twice, and I defended myself.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Colette Hoyt says former high school classmate Sonny Hansen assaulted her outside a bar. Sonny says Colette, a high school bully, started this fight too.
So what did you do?
Sonny went to break it up, so I didn't get hit.
Sonny went to break what up?
She made sure I wasn't getting hurt again.
How did she do that?
She just stepped in between and tried to stop Colette.
And then Colette swung at me
with a handful of keys.
Yeah, and hit me in the face. And I have this scarring right here. I have pictures of the injuries as well, if you'd like to see those.
I would.
And then I saw her husband throw Sonny up against the car.
You saw her husband what?
He threw Sonny up against the car.
Why would you think he would throw Sonny up against the car?
I have no idea.
If
Sonny and her were starting to fight.
I'm not talking to you. You lost your talking privileges until I call you. Do you understand?
Yes.
Yeah, she attacked me. She had keys in her hands. I went to defend myself. I was trying to curl down so she'd quit hitting me in the face. Because we were actually scheduled on Sunday to go down and get photo invitations for our wedding. And now even I think my wedding pictures here in 5 weeks are going to reflect the scarring on my face from a fight that I didn't even want to be a part of.
What were you a part of it for?
I stepped in.
What were you a part of it for? I believe her when she said that somebody hit her. I believe her. I believe that there was absolutely no basis for you to go outside and have any conversation with her at all. And everybody just then came all around. There were a lot of people that were hitting. There were a lot of people that were hitting. Now I'm going to hear from Big Mouth. Only because I have to, because you're a party to this proceeding. Go ahead. You came out with whom?
I came out with Sonny.
Just a second. You came out with Sonny, alone, just the two of you.
Just the two of us.
There were several other guys there, too.
There weren't any other guys.
There wasn't any
There was 3 other guys. One guy was so nuts he took off his friggin' coat and was going, yeah, yeah, shaking his hand. And
do I know him? I don't even know who they are.
Then why was he shaking your hand?
Just a second. I have no idea. He never shook my hand. My hand was broken.
She heard his friend yell, I got your back, when he was hitting me.
Did you,
I never hit her.
Did you speak to the police?
Did I speak to the police? No. And I never hit her. I don't hit women. The only reason I even got involved is because Chris slammed Sonny into the car, and I thought he was going to start hitting on her, so I hit him off of her. Then we got in the car and we left.
How did you hit him off of her?
How did I hit him off of her? With my right hand, and in the process breaking it.
Broke it on my head.
So you broke your own hand?
I broke my own hand on the side of his head, yes, to hit him off of her.
You broke your own hand hitting him?
Mm-hmm. He was on top of her.
I thought I was a girl. Oh, shoot. Sorry.
Now, it looks to me as if there were a lot of people that were punching at Miss Hoyt.
The only people who were fighting with Miss Hoyt is her.
And me.
Yeah. There was no one else that
you
was
see right away. Now, there were 2 people fighting with Miss Hoyt.
No, when we walked out of the bar,
it wasn't at
Colette
the same
was swinging
time.
at her.
No.
Sonny tried to break up the fight, and Colette hit her.
And Shay was standing back, and it was
Then
just
they started
me
to
and
proceed
Colette.
to fight, and then
Well,
Chris
why
slammed
didn't
Sonny
you
in the
get in
car.
there? Why didn't you get in there instead of letting your fiance get in there if there was a fight going on?
Because she was right in front of me. I couldn't stop her. We both walked out.
Sure you
It's a
can.
single door. You know, you can't walk out of a door side by side.
How angry were you at her husband?
When he hit her?
Before.
Not really angry, except for the time when him and his buddies tried to fight me and my friend. That night that Colette kicked her, we were in there playing pool, and him and about 10 of his friends tried to pick a fight with us.
We had to be
escorted. We had to be escorted out of the bar, made sure we were in our car safe, and then we left.
He's been kicked out of that bar because he beat up an
Now,
old
my
man
next
before.
question
I've
to
never
you
been
is,
kicked out of that bar before in my life.
if you were assaulted and you know who assaulted you, why is it that you never prosecuted this case?
I did try to, but the police say that there's, they don't prosecute misdemeanors or they don't investigate misdemeanors in Spokane because they're too overloaded with felonies. And so the police officer asked us to take it to small claims. He didn't even want us to file the report because they don't have enough staff. And so it's what the police
Sounds to me
officer
like
told
you
us,
didn't have
that
a
there
case.
wouldn't be enough.
Your case is dismissed. Now you can leave. You had 10 warnings. Goodbye.
Okay, let him be quiet.
Broke his own hand, let him take care of it. It's a hothead. Okay. Is there anything else that anybody wants to tell me?
I just think if their injuries were so severe, we have an affidavit here that shows that Chris was down playing in a pool tournament at 9 o'clock the next morning.
I'm not talking about his injuries. I don't think he had any. I mean, he had a couple. He had a scratch on the back of the head. This guy tried to hit him in the head with this hand. He broke his arm. It's good enough.
I'm fine.
Right? Good
I'm
enough.
fine.
Perfect. You can sit down. The question is, who started this fight?
Colette did.
No, you did.
Verbally.
No, you did. You went up to her in the parking lot for absolutely no reason. And I believe that you came in and you hit her. And then all hell broke loose. And then all hell broke loose. And I believe that your old boyfriend over there was still remembering from last month when he made fun of the engagement ring. Because that would be something that one would remember. And so would you. So I'm dismissing your counterclaim. And I'm awarding you, as requested, $2,500 because I've looked at your injuries, and your injuries are, in fact, substantial. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Smarter than her and skinnier than her, and evidently that just carries on after high school. I just wish it would die and she would just let things be.
They got what they deserved. They started everything, and if he's going to hit a girl, then he should have to pay for it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Ray versus Gallagher. Step forward, please.
46-year-old band manager William Ray is suing a former band member, 23-year-old waiter Michael John Gallagher, for unpaid bail money and attorney fees after Michael was arrested for driving under the influence.
Mr. Ray, you were managing a band. The defendant was one of the band members.
Correct.
According to your complaint, the defendant was arrested for driving while under the influence of alcohol.
Correct.
You bailed him out, provided whatever money was necessary to have him back in the band, right?
Correct.
The band was subsequently disbanded. You want your money.
Correct.
The defendant says that, yes, you laid out money, but that you told him that he was to start paying you back when the band started to make money. The band never made any money, so he doesn't owe you any money. That's your defense.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. How were you arrested? Tell me about this arrest that you had in May of 2000.
I was driving down the road, and I got into an accident. I had been drinking. I've paid my dues.
So you were hauled off to jail?
Yes, ma'am.
Who did you call?
I'm not sure. I called my friend Steve, and I called Mr. Ray here.
And Steve didn't have any money?
No.
So then you called
Mr.
Plaintiff. And what did you say when you called him?
I just told him that I was in jail. I really just wanted somebody to talk to. I didn't expect him to get me out or anything. I just wanted somebody to talk to, so I called him.
You wanted somebody just to chat with?
Yes. Well, I was in jail. I was 21 years old and scared out of my mind.
Fine. So you didn't want somebody to come and get you out. You just wanted somebody to talk to.
Yes, ma'am.
Good.
Well, as the conversation went on, I did ask him to get me out.
Of course you did. Of course, Mr. Gallagher. And how much was the bail?
I don't know.
How much was the bail, Mr. Ray?
$7,500 bail, $750 out of pocket.
Okay. Tell me about hiring the attorney. Who called the attorney?
I have a very close friend I've known for about 21 years.
So the answer is you did?
I did, yes.
Did the attorney tell you what the fee was?
Usually it was $3,000, I believe, and since he was friends with Mr. Ray, he would take care of it for $1,600.
And what did you say?
I said, okay.
Did you pay him any money?
Mr. Ray gave me a check to pay him, yes.
And what did he say when he gave you the check? Look at me. What did he say when he gave you the check?
Don't worry about this. Worry about your singing. We'll take care of this later.
Good. Now, what other expenses did you have, Mr. Ray?
The other money is I gave him my car. I had several cars, and his car was totaled. He got my car, the car that I loaned him, impounded one night, so I had to pay that fees.
How did he get your car impounded?
He called me up and he said that I was driving across the tracks and a hubcap fell off, and as I stopped to check it, the police stopped me, and then we find out he doesn't have a driver's license, or his license has expired. So
Is that right?
Yes, that is right. When I went to the DMV, I have a New Mexico driver's license. When I went to the DMV,
give me a story.
Okay.
How much was it to get the car out of impound?
Car getting out of the impound was $93.
What else?
He had the car approximately 6 to 7 months. Clutch was totally shot, and it had a brand
Forget
new
it.
clutch.
That's
when it
your
was in
problem. If you're stupid enough to lend somebody your car for 7 months, somebody who's already had trouble with the car, it's got a DUI. He's a baby, you're not. You take on that responsibility. $2,443 is what you owe him. Why shouldn't you pay him?
I don't feel that I should pay him because he told us he was going to take care of all this stuff for us and start paying us to rehearse. We were there 3 nights a week, sometimes 7 nights a week rehearsing. Most of the time that we were there, he was stoned out of his mind and wasn't even paying attention to the rehearsal.
So why didn't you leave?
I thought...
Just a second. So why didn't you leave?
I didn't leave because I thought this was my opportunity.
Well, then you made a mistake.
Most definitely.
You
Most
made a
definitely.
mistake, but you had the opportunity to leave. And if this lawsuit was about your expenses, your living expenses, et cetera, while you were working, I would feel differently about it. These items had to do with your stupidity. A, driving while drunk, having an accident, and then parking across railroad tracks. That has nothing to do with band. That has something to do with stupidity. 2443, judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are Generette. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. Bielefeld, other than being the owner of this car that was damaged allegedly by the defendant, you have no independent knowledge of this case. Is that right?
That is correct. She also is it her car. It's not my car.
It's your daughter's car?
Yes, she owns the car.
Okay, so why don't you have a seat?
Okay.
Step up. Your first name is?
Ashley.
Ashley, according to your complaint, you went out partying one evening, and the defendant was within this group that you were partying with. Is that right?
Right.
And you don't know what happened, but you passed out. The next day you woke up and you found that something had happened to your car.
Right.
You don't remember giving anybody permission to drive your car?
No, I don't.
When did this happen?
August 27th.
Your first name is Chris?
Yes.
Tell me about August 27th, Chris.
Well, we were all drinking.
Who was all?
My witnesses, me and Ashley.
These two people?
Right. Just
the four of you?
Yes.
Where were you drinking?
At Jean's apartment.
Who's Jean? Can I see a show of hands, please? Who's Jean?
I'm Jean.
Good. Go ahead.
Okay, we were there drinking. Okay, and as it got later, me and Dalton, my friend Dalton right there, we got hungry, so we wanted to go get something to eat. So we asked Ashley if we could use her car to get something to eat. We went down to Jean's car, got the keys out, took her car to go get something to eat.
Just a minute. Hold on. Hold a second. Let's backtrack a little bit. You were at his house drinking.
Right.
What were you drinking?
It was Smirnoff vodka and Cardi Gold, I believe.
And what time had you started drinking?
We got the stuff about 10 or 10:30, and
How did you get to his house?
I rode with Jean.
Jean?
Yes.
How did Ashley get to the house?
She drove her car.
Herself?
Yes.
What time did she get there?
We got the alcohol and we all just met up there, so right afterwards.
So about 10 or 10:30.
Right. That's when we got the alcohol, and then after that we went to Jean's apartment.
So there were two cars there.
Yes.
Jean's, your friend's, and Ashley's.
Right.
And then I assume you all were drinking. Is that
Yes.
right? What time did you get hungry?
I'd say it was around in between 3 and 4, probably 3 or 3:30.
So you had been there for a long time drinking.
Well, we weren't necessarily drinking the whole time nonstop.
I didn't say double time nonstop. You were up from 10:30 till 3:30. You hadn't gone to sleep and you were drinking.
Right.
And you got hungry about 3:30.
Yes.
Where in his apartment were you when you got hungry?
Right there in the living room.
Were you all in the living room?
Yeah.
Where was Ashley in the living room?
It,
Look at me. Where was Ashley in the living room?
She
Look at me.
She was by the couch.
What do you mean
believe.
by the couch? What does that mean? Standing
By
up
the
at
futon. I mean,
What does by the futon mean?
she was standing beside the futon.
Standing.
Yes.
How long had she been standing, Chris?
I don't know.
Well, it's about 3 or 3:30. You got hungry. You turned around and you saw her standing by the futon. What was she doing standing by the futon?
Well, I wasn't really paying attention to her. I mean, I wasn't
So
paying
then why did you
attention.
give me an answer? She was standing by the futon.
I mean, I wasn't specifically watching Ashley, so I couldn't tell you exactly what she was doing. But we were all in the living room. We were all by his door. Me and Dalton got hungry. We asked her if we could use her car. We went down the stairs.
Why didn't you use his car?
I just didn't ask him because I figured he'd say no.
Why
So I
did you
didn't
think he'd... Shh. Why did you think he'd say no? He's your friend.
Well, because he's a little more picky about his cars, so...
What does that mean? Explain that to me, Chris. What do you mean a little more picky about his cars?
He really doesn't like to just let people borrow them or
Especially
nothing,
people
so
who have been drinking.
Probably.
Now, what kind of car does Ashley have?
Dodge Neon.
A new one, an old one?
It's like a 95.
Is it in good shape, or was it in good shape?
Yeah.
What kind of car does he have?
ZX2, 98.
So, who got hungry?
Me and Dalton.
So the boys got hungry.
Yes.
Ashley wasn't hungry.
Nothing I know of.
Did you ask her?
No.
No, let me go back there for 1 second, Chris. You were... Shh, please. You were going out to get food because you were hungry. Is that right?
Yes.
Who was hungry?
Me and Dalton.
What's the other kid's name?
Gene.
Gene. Was Gene hungry too?
I don't know. I didn't ask him.
Why not?
Because me and Dalton were hungry and we just wanted to go get something to eat.
You mean you're just selfish people?
No.
You had 4 of you there, 4 of you up drinking all night, and you say, we're going to get something to eat. So you don't say to your friends who you've been drinking with all night, hey, we're going to get something to eat. Want us to bring you back something? You don't say that?
No.
No? Where were you going, by the way, at 3:30 in the morning to get something to eat?
I was going over to my friend's apartment to get some pizza that they had, so we were just going to heat it up and eat it.
To get pizza not from a store, from his freezer.
It was from a store, but it was in the fridge, so it was like leftovers.
How did you know that he had that leftover pizza?
I had talked to him earlier.
When earlier?
Before we got the alcohol, probably around 8 or 9.
Oh, tell me about that conversation that you had with him. I'm curious. Come on, Chris.
Well, we
Come
were
on,
just
story's
talking
getting better.
and I knew...
Story's getting better.
Well,
At
we were
8,
just
9 o'clock, I'm speaking. When I speak, you don't.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm sorry. I took your car. I was drunk. I'm a fool. I'm an idiot.
Okay, but I don't know...
I don't want to hear you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Ashley Bielefeld says former friend Christopher Jenneret drove her car without permission and damaged it. Ashley says Christopher took her keys while she was passed out cold.
Now, at 8, 9 o'clock, before you went to get the vodka, you spoke to your friend and said, listen, I may get hungry later tonight. You got any food in your house? Is that what you, so that was the conversation?
No, I did not even plan on going over there. It's
so
just
tell me
something
about the conversation.
I can't remember the conversation.
Try to think hard. You weren't drunk at that point at 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening.
He just called. We just talked, just like friend-to-friend conversation, and I knew that he had leftover pizza, and I knew he would still be up at that time, so we went over there to get some, which I never even ate because of this.
Because of what?
The car.
Well, now tell me what happened with the car. You went over to Ashley and you asked her for the keys when she was standing next to the futon after having been drinking from 10:30 until 3:30 in the morning.
Right.
And she said, sure, take my keys. She gave you the keys. Is that right?
Yes.
And you got into the car?
The keys were in Jean's car.
You went down to Jean's car and got the keys.
Right.
What were the keys to Ashley's car doing in Jean's car?
I have no idea. I just know that the keys were in Jean's car.
How do you know that?
Well, okay, we went joyriding for a little while in Jean's car, all four of us. We drove around.
When did you do that?
This was before we got food, but after we started drinking. We were a little bored. We went driving around.
So that's somewhere after 10:30, but before 3:30.
Mm-hmm.
You went joyriding.
Yeah, it was probably
in his
around
car.
12, maybe.
Shh. In his car.
Yes.
So explain to me how her keys were in his car.
She had left them in there.
How do you know that?
I just knew.
How did you know? Look at me.
Because I knew they were in there. I saw them in there. I mean,
you saw them?
Yeah.
Just a minute. Because you saw them, that she had left them in the car. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Keep going. I love it when they sort of trip over their ties.
Okay, so where would you like me to begin at?
No, I'd like you to continue, sir. You asked her for the keys when she
Right.
was standing next to the futon.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
But you already knew where the car keys were because they were downstairs in the car because that's where you had seen them when you were joyriding at 12:30. Is that correct? Yes. All right. So then you went downstairs and you took the keys out of Jean's car. Let's pick it up from there.
Okay. So then me and Dalton got in her car. We started driving. We were getting on the highway to go over there. Whenever we were entering the highway, we had to turn right to get on the ramp. So we turned right, we hit something, we had a blowout, we pulled over, and me and Dalton had walked back to Jean's house so that we could get him to take us back and help us change the tire and everything. So, because there was like nothing in there to fix the tire with, so we had Jean come back and help us.
Now, Ashley, according to you, you were so drunk, you just either drunk or drugged or something. You passed out and you don't know what was going on.
I don't remember anything after we were driving in Jean's car.
Can I see the estimates for the car, please? Now, Mr. Jennerett, I am going to sum up the credible parts of your testimony, sir. And maybe this is a good lesson for you. Just because people are older doesn't mean that they're stupid. You were trying to get over telling me a story that didn't make sense. And I assume that you understand at this point that I understand that the story you gave me initially and the story that you wrote in your answer was a lot of who shot John. Because I believe that you all were drinking from 10:30 until 3:30. I believe that you all went out joyriding in his car. I believe that you decided to continue the joyriding and that he said to you, you're not taking my car again because you're drunk as a skunk. I do not believe that you asked her for the keys to her car because you already knew where the keys to her car were. You had seen them in the car at 12:30 when you came in. So you knew that her keys were downstairs. Why in the world would you go over to her when she was standing next to a futon and saying, can I have your keys, when you already knew where her keys were? Stand up straight. Yeah. When you hit something, according to you, you just had a blowout and that's all you had. No, that's not what happened. You hit something with such force that the tire blew out, knocking the whole alignment off the car. That's what happened. You're responsible. Period. End of discussion. I'm sorry. I took your car without permission. I was drunk. I had no right to be driving a car. I not only could have killed myself, I could have killed somebody else. I'm a fool. I'm an idiot. And I'm going to pay for the damage I caused. That's what you do.
Okay, but I don't know.
I don't want to hear you. Whatever damage it was, maybe it wasn't attributed to you. Sometimes when you're stupid, you got to pay for things that weren't even your fault. Sometimes you do. Maybe the bumper on the car was loose and might have fallen off the next day, but because you took the car and hit something, it was damaged already. You damaged it a little bit more, it fell off. It's your fault. You had no right to get behind the wheel of a car, any car, yours, his, hers, because you were drinking. No right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Ashley Bielefeld says former friend Christopher Jennerett drove her car without permission and damaged it. Ashley says Christopher took her keys while she was passed out cold.
Anything you want to say? Anything you...
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh.
I just want to make sure that the fact that he did ask for the keys. Me and Ashley were sitting on the couch.
No,
together.
no, no. You weren't sitting on the couch, sir. She was standing by the futon.
That is the couch.
She was standing by the futon.
I'm saying we were sitting on the couch.
Well,
which we
so
were.
far, that's a different story that he just gave me.
That's my story. I
Let's
believe,
go. So you and Ashley were sitting on the couch. And?
Yes. And he came up, asked her for her car, and she said her keys were in my car. And then he asked me for my keys to see if he could go to the car and get her keys, which is what happened.
Well, but that's not what he just told me, sir. He told me that he saw the keys in her car after you had been joyriding in your car. So he knew where the keys were. You see, that's what he just told me. Maybe you're all a little blurred because you were drinking too much.
I understand.
Is that a possibility?
Yes, it is.
Good. Sit down. You want to say anything?
No, I'm all right.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $744.52. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't remember that night.
Well, yeah, we were partying and it did get out of hand.
They're obviously too young and irresponsible to be doing acts like this, drinking and driving, out running around.
What's done is done.
I want her to be able to put this behind her and move on.
We don't even talk anymore.
Not to drink as much, maybe.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Nelson versus Thomas. Step forward, please.
24-year-old nursing assistant Tritasha Nelson is suing her ex-boyfriend's wife, 22-year-old nurse Natasha Thomas, for vandalizing her car. Natasha is countersuing for harassment.
Are you Mr. Thomas?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're his wife?
Yes.
And Ms. Nelson, you have children. Father of those children is Mr. Thomas.
Correct.
It is your claim that his wife vandalized your car.
Yes.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. How long are you married?
4 years.
You have children?
Yes.
How many children?
2.
How old are they?
3 and 1.
And Miss Nelson, how old are the children that you have by Mr. Thomas?
2 years and 4 weeks.
Right.
Okay.
Other than the obvious, Miss Nelson, your car was vandalized when?
It was vandalized on the night of July 4th.
Just a second. July 4th of this year?
Yes.
Did you see Miss Thomas vandalize your car?
No, I was at home.
Mr. Thomas had borrowed your car?
Yes.
Do you have any proof that Mrs. Thomas vandalized your car?
He told me that she vandalized my car.
Stand up. Mr. Thomas, did you see your wife vandalize Miss Nelson's car?
No, ma'am.
Did she confess to you that she had vandalized her car?
No, ma'am.
Did you ever tell Miss Nelson that your wife vandalized her car?
No, ma'am.
What were you doing driving Miss Nelson's car?
Me and my cousin, we went out that night, and we used the car just to go out that night. And he told her before I got home, before I got there, I mean, that I guess they don't get along.
Sit down. Miss Nelson, has he been living with you or with his wife?
He's been living with her for the past, I mean, he was living with me around the time when I got pregnant with my second child.
And what about your first?
No, he told, well, that happened. They were separated. He told me that they were divorced. When I found out that they were still married, I was already pregnant with my first daughter.
So you knew he was a liar? You knew he was a liar when you got pregnant with your second child?
True.
That's what you get. Listen, you have no proof that she vandalized your car.
He told me that she vandalized my car.
He denies that now.
Well, I mean...
I don't know. I mean, he's a liar.
Exactly.
So when am I supposed to figure out when he's lying and telling the truth? Now he's telling the truth?
His cousin
he's telling the truth?
Well, his cousin called and told me that she vandalized the car.
You can't tell me what his cousin... Listen to me.
Okay, well...
Well, listen, you're trying to talk over me? You can't tell me what his cousin told you.
Okay.
I just asked him, and he's been sworn, whether his wife confessed. He said no. If you want to be dumb enough to let him use your car, that's your problem.
Exactly.
That's your...
I know, I understand that.
Good.
But when he bought me my car back, he took me outside, showed me the damages, and he said that she vandalized my car. He came in the house, his shirt was all ripped up because she got thrown out of the club because him and her was arguing and fighting, and she told him that she was going to go outside and vandalize my car. She went outside and vandalized my car, and since then I've been telling her I want my car fixed. Yes, I have been harassing her And because I want my car fixed, the police came and took fingerprints off the car. Every time they come to her house, she won't open the door because she knows she's guilty.
Miss Nelson, listen to me carefully. This is not a talk show. It's a court. You have no proof that she vandalized your car. She probably did it.
I know she did it.
Well, she probably did it. Why in the world you would let him drive your car, I have no idea. Why? He's a liar. He's a two-timer. He's married. You have 2 children with him. So, does that make you smart or dumb? Does that make you smart or dumb?
It was dumb of me again, the second one, but the first one, I didn't know.
Madam, listen to me. Were you married to him?
No, I wasn't married to him.
Then is there any reason why you should have a child with him?
Well, he shouldn't have lied about not being married the first time.
Listen to me.
And I wouldn't have
You weren't
either
married
one of
to
them.
him. Why are you having a child with him?
Like I said, I didn't know that he was still married when I
What
had my
difference does it
first
make?
child.
He wasn't married to you.
So?
Go have your car fixed. Not by her.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Basically, she knows she...
You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Miss Virgin, your son is currently incarcerated, is that correct?
Yes, he is.
And he's incarcerated already having been sentenced, and his sentence, according to you, is 20 years?
Yes.
What was he convicted of?
Aggravated robbery case that he wasn't involved in.
According to your complaint, you hired the defendant and paid the defendant $500 because he promised you $550 because he promised you that within a year, through his efforts, he would get your son out of jail.
Yes.
And according to you, he did nothing and you want your money back.
Yes.
The defendant says he did accept $550 because of his expertise. There were no guarantees of anything. And as it happens, he was not even hired to process an appeal for your son, but to try to get some money back for lawyers that you had paid over the course of your son's trials and appeals. How did you meet him?
Through my daughter. My daughter was talking about my son's case on her job, and one of her co-workers overheard her talking about the case, and she told her that she knew a person who could help get my son out of prison.
Step up, please. Tell me your last name.
Smith.
Did you make contact with the defendant, Miss Smith? Did you personally, or did your mother?
My mother.
So tell me, Miss Virgin, about the conversation that you had with the defendant when you called him.
Well, when I called him, he gave me his address, and I met with him at his house.
At his house?
At his house.
He didn't have a place of business?
No.
Go ahead.
I met with him at his house, and he told me that he's done other cases like this, and he could guarantee that he would have my son out by this time next year.
Now, Mr. Hobbs, what kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm a consultant, Your Honor.
What kind of consultant?
I'm a political consultant.
What do you mean, a political consultant? Who are your clients?
My clients are people who are running for office, who are running for judge, who are running for political office, Congress, and all over.
And how long have you been doing this sort of work, sir?
Almost 8 years.
Tell me your version of the conversation.
The conversation went like this. Do you want me to start at the beginning, Your Honor?
Yes.
She contacted me on a Sunday. She was desperate, and I told her to come on over. She said, Mr. Hobbs, I have 5 attorneys that owe me money. And I said, you know, if we would talk to them, Miss Virgin, we'd probably get our money back. They don't want to see you in court or nothing like that. I say, maybe I can. Let me call them and contact them. Got on the phone. She was on the phone with me. I called 3 ways. I said, Mr. So-and-so, you have took $2,000 from Miss Virgin. She needs her money back, or she needs an appeal filed from her. He said he would have the appeal filed Tuesday of next week, or he would send her money back. I called back that Tuesday. The appeal had not been filed. He was not finished with it. She was angry. I called back the following week. He did not have the appeal. I said, this is what we'll do. Send her half of her money back for the work that you've done already, which is $1,000, and we'll present that to Ms. Virgin so she could go get another attorney, which she wanted. I took her to the best appeals attorney, they say, quote unquote, in Texas. We sit down 2 hours and talk to this attorney. He asked her, do you want to go ahead with this appeal? This is going to cost you $5,000. She said, yes. As soon as we get the money from the other lawyer, we'll come and hire you. Your Honor, I had did my job. She asked me to do something, And I did that. The attorney did never send her money or her appeal.
Ms. Virgin, Mr. Hobbs indicates that the conversation was not about getting your son out of jail. The discussion that you had to do with getting some money back from one appeals lawyer so that you could pay another appeals lawyer. Does that sound familiar to you?
He told me that he knew people who could help him get my son out of prison within a year.
Your Honor, with all the respect I have for her, I would not ever in my life tell anybody in the United States or outside the United States that I could get a 20-year sentence and get her son out the state penitentiary in a year.
He told me he's done it for other people.
Your Honor.
That's the only reason why I gave him the $550.
Your Honor, I did not tell her that.
Did you, in fact, participate in a three-way telephone conversation with the defendant and the old lawyer that never filed the brief?
Yes, I did.
When you sat down with the other appellate lawyer, did you discuss with him the process that had gone on so far?
Yes, I did.
Did Mr. Hobbs participate in that conversation?
Yes.
How many hours in total, Miss Virgin, do you think Mr. Hobbs spent with you?
3.
How many hours do you think he spent reading over the transcripts, etc.?
45 minutes.
So that's 4 hours. I want to know, sir, what particular expertise do you have with regard to reading over transcripts, making a determination as appeals? Do you have any legal training?
No, ma'am. My quest is getting the lawyer to do her thing, the best lawyer that we can, on a reasonable price. Miss Virgin do not have no money. She did not have money to pay me.
I gather, Mr. Hobbs, that both Miss Smith and her mother needed a spokesperson.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is really what you were hired for.
No, Miss Judy, I was hired to get her a good appeals lawyer.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jacqueline Virgin says political consultant Tommy Hobbs promised to get her son released from jail. Jacqueline says her son is still incarcerated and she wants a refund.
Did you finally get somebody to process an appeal for your son?
Yes, I got a lawyer named Charles.
Did you pay this lawyer any money, Miss Virgin?
Not yet.
And I told her not to.
Why is that?
Judge Judy, she sent me to the streets to find out about her son. She introduced me to a fellow named... This is one of the guys who was in the game, the one that had the gun. I got to the other two guys, the neighbors, who were teenagers at that particular time. These two guys, these are bumping jack guys.
What is bumping jack?
Bumping jack means any old lady, old man you catch coming out the apartment who had just got off an airplane, they bump and jack them. They beat them up and take their money.
Got it, beat them up.
Come to find out, her son's nickname in the streets is Bat.
What? Bat?
Bat, like a bat, a baseball bat. He was the gang leader.
Is what you're telling me, Mr. Hobbs, that she gave you certain information and you went out to try to find that out in the street?
And give it back to the attorney that we were going to hire.
Did Mr. Hobbs ever talk to you about the fact that he had gone out and spoken to these prospective witnesses and what they told him?
No, he didn't speak to anybody. He just took my money and didn't want to refund it.
Judge Judy.
Yeah.
Stays across the bayou from me. She begged me to go over and talk to him.
Did you?
Yes, ma'am, I did. Okay. Mr. is the one that had the gun.
You went to see this Mr. Mr. tells you that he was the one with the gun.
Right.
Not Miss Virgin's son.
Right, and he wanted to testify in court to that.
Okay.
So I told him, no, you're going to have to come to the appeal court that lawyer we're going to hire to give him this statement. Can you give an affidavit to me? Didn't see the guy no more. Then I caught up with him on the streets.
And?
Bat, her son, is the one, is the guy.
Is the guy that what?
He's the one that goes and rents the hotel.
So Miss Virgin's son was involved in some way in this robbery that took place?
Ma'am, yes. That's my opinion.
That was what you were told?
Yes, ma'am. Bat would go get his neighbors, these two brothers. They go to the hotel.
And what did they do with the hotel?
They rented the hotel to set up for what they was going to do.
Explain it to me.
Old lady walks out her apartment, okay?
Apartment or the hotel?
Out the hotel. Goes down the streets, right?
From the hotel?
Anywhere, go and get something to eat, right. They bump and jack her.
Miss Virgin says that her son was convicted of an aggravated robbery.
Yes, ma'am.
From what you tell me, a bump and jack is you bump somebody and you take their money and run. That's not an aggravated robbery.
If you have a weapon, it is.
Yes. So somebody had a weapon.
Yes, ma'am.
What?
Your Honor, my son was involved in an aggravated robbery case that he didn't commit because he was put into a lineup as an extra, picked out as the victim in an unjust system because this is a case that he can't erase. He was put in jail without bail.
Ms. Virgin, let me ask you this question. How old was your son when he was arrested?
He was
20.
18. No, he was 20. He was 20 years old. He'd
Now I
been
want
there
you to listen
4
to me.
years.
I want you to listen to me very carefully. Prior to this arrest, how many times had your son been arrested?
My son had been arrested one time.
Before this?
Before this.
As an adult or as a juvenile?
As a juvenile.
For what?
For a possession case.
Possession of what?
What was it? Cocaine. Not cocaine, it was
What, Mr. Hobbs, do you know?
I think it was a weapon.
It wasn't coke. It wasn't
not
a weapon. It was not a weapon.
Well, why don't y'all tell her the truth?
He had some crack. He was arrested for crack on him.
Sale.
To sell?
Yes.
Not to sell.
To use?
He said he was holding it for a friend.
Miss Virgin, listen to me. I believe that you are a mother who is pretty desperate. Who was pretty
Your
desperate.
Honor, I am not
Just listen.
desperate.
Yes, you are. You're a mother who's pretty desperate. She would like her son out of jail.
I would like him out of jail because he's innocent.
Okay.
He had 8 witnesses at the trial stating where he was at the time of the
Evidently,
robbery.
nobody believed
And,
him. Miss Virgin, that's not up to me to determine.
Your Honor.
This case has to do with whether Mr. Hobbs did the job that he was hired to do, and that was to try to get some money back from you, from lawyers.
He
who
wasn't
had-
hired to get the money back.
I'm speaking that he was hired to do the job of trying to get some money back and get an appeals going so that your son at least had a shot of an appeals process that would result in his being exonerated of these charges. And I find that he did sufficient work to warrant the $550 that you paid him. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He told me that he could get my son out of jail by this time next year.
She doesn't realize what she has as a son.
He said that he had done it for other people.
She's a good lady. She just wants her son back.
I should have won the verdict.
She's already had one nervous breakdown. She needs to get on with her life.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hayden Grapple versus Hayden Kennedy Lyons. Step forward, please.
Cindy Hayden and her son, 16-year-old Anthony Kreppel, are suing Cindy's brother, Rick Hayden, his girlfriend, Lila Kennedy, and Lila's son, 16-year-old Nicholas Lyons. Cindy says during a road trip, Nicholas assaulted her son.
All right, let's deal with this in short order if we can. Miss Hayden, the defendant is your brother, Mr. Hayden.
Yes.
Co-defendant is a friend of yours, or was a friend of yours,
Yes.
Miss Kennedy. And according to your complaint, you wanted to bring Miss Kennedy to meet your brother.
Correct.
And you arranged to go with your children and Miss Kennedy's children to where your brother lives, which was some distance away in another state.
Yes.
On sort of a road trip / vacation, whatever. So far correct?
Correct.
And you say that while there, your son and the defendant's son got into some sort of an altercation, and your son was assaulted.
Yes.
Miss Kennedy said she's not taking you back. You're not all going back in the same car. Make your own arrangements to get home.
Correct.
So you are suing for 2 things. For the expenses that you had to get home.
Correct.
And you are suing them also on behalf of your son for whatever injuries he sustained as a result of this altercation with the defendant's son.
Correct.
That's what the case is about. What makes you think they're responsible to provide transportation for you home after this argument that got physical with the 2 boys?
For the simple fact, when we left on this trip, it was a trip paid for there and back.
By whom?
By my brother Rick. He had sent me money for gas to get there and sent Miss Kennedy money before we left to get home on.
I paid for the trip, Your Honor, but she spent her share of the money on marijuana before she
I don't care
made
whether
her
she
trip.
spent her share on marijuana. It doesn't make any difference. He sent gas money.
No.
He sent gas money. You're not entitled to any money for your return trip. Forget that.
Okay.
Now tell me about the fight that happened between your son and the defendant, Miss Kennedy's son.
Lila and I was arguing over the money situation, that I had paid for a haircut. She said I didn't. It was minute. The next thing I know, Lila grabbed me in a headlock. As I was in my headlock and I was looking over, I seen that in the doorway there was my brother, Rick, my son, and also Nick Lyons. Well, my brother Rick had my son held by both of his arms. He was behind him and had him held by both of his arms, while Nick Lyons was punching my son in the chest with his fist.
So you called the police?
Yes.
What kind of injuries did you have, young man?
Well, I got a knot on my chest. It caused a bunch of bruising, and they said that this knot will probably be here for about a year or so.
A knot?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'd like you to tell me your version of what happened that day. Why don't you tell me what happened?
All the yelling and everything was going on, and Tony, he went after my mom, and I was defending my mom, basically.
Was she holding this lady?
No, that didn't happen until me and her son got into it, and I had him on the floor holding him down, and then she jumped on my back, threw me in a headlock herself, and had me to the point where I couldn't breathe, and I was turning purple in the face, and she grabbed her off of me, and that happened, and she had her back up against the wall, and me and Tony continued at it.
Did he hit you at all?
Not that I can remember.
But you hit him?
Yeah.
How many times?
Once in the face, and that was, and I kneed him in the chest.
It was pretty much a wrestling match.
What?
It was pretty much just a wrestling match, and there was nobody holding anybody except Lila holding Cindy, because Cindy, after they ended up on a wrestling match on the floor, Cindy jumped on his back, clawing him at the face, choking him, screaming and yelling and calling him dirty names.
You mean over haircut money?
She wanted to go home. The whole arrangement was that Cindy called. I hadn't talked to her for years because she's been a parasite in the family for years. She's done this to everybody in the family. Every time she goes somewhere, she turns it into a big melee mess. So I thought, well, give her one more chance. She's your sister. You know, it's Thanksgiving. Bring her down here, see if she's changed. Well, that was it. She changed all right.
Okay. She wanted to go home.
After she started threatening Lila's life because Lila wouldn't take her home when she wanted to go because she ran out of her drugs. And she wouldn't leave it alone. Every time I would leave the room, she would go back in there. And the last time, when I finally got fed up, she told Lila, just wait till I get you home if you make it that far. So then Tony attacks Lila and starts screaming and went after Lila. I tried to separate
Does that sound
them.
right to you?
Actually, I was telling Lila that it was true. My mom paid for the haircut that Nick had.
So you were arguing with Lila?
Yeah, and then Nick came up
Loud?
behind me. Yeah, we were arguing pretty loud.
Loud? You were yelling at her?
Yeah, she was yelling at me and yelling at my mom.
How old are you?
16.
How old is she? Older. She's a mother. She has a child your age. Is that right?
Yeah.
So what were you doing yelling at her?
I was defending my mom.
Your mother looks like she can defend herself. Your lawsuit's dismissed. You had a fight, you had an argument, you were all involved with it. It got physical, which is outrageous for the adults to become involved with a physical argument. Now you want to be compensated for that, plus the ride home? Who's been giving you some trouble, I gather. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that the defendant, who also has a teenager who's a little bit of a problem, the defendant assisted your daughter in running away from a shelter where she was placed. During the course of this running away, she committed a series of crimes for which you have been held responsible for the fines.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are suing her for interfering with your daughter's custody,
Yes, ma'am.
which caused you not only emotional distress, which you are suing for, but also the payment of these fines that you had to pay through the courts for the various crimes that your daughter committed while on the run.
Correct.
And you say that that was facilitated by the defendant's conduct in harboring her.
Correct.
The defendant says that she didn't know that all of this problem was going to develop when she went and picked your daughter up from a gas station where she had placed a call, that she in fact tried to get her to return and turn herself in when she found out that she had done some of these things, that she was really only trying to help.
Yes, ma'am.
Where's your daughter?
Over there.
This
in the black, ma'am.
Step up here. What's your first name?
Amber.
How old are you, Amber?
17.
How old were you when all this trouble started? 17 or 16?
16.
Does the defendant have a daughter who's a friend of yours?
She used to be my friend.
What's her name?
Lissy.
Spell it.
Lissy.
Now, where were you and Lissy? Were you in a facility, in a shelter?
We were in Antrim Girl Shelter together.
And how did you get to this girl shelter?
I was put in the girl shelter for not going home for a week, the week I stayed at Lissy's house.
So your mother put you there?
No, the judge put me there because I was on probation and I was court ordered to be home.
You were on probation for what?
A lot of stuff. I don't remember exactly.
Well, was you on probation for stuff that involved your mother or stuff that involved the rest of the community, like shoplifting and stealing?
Stuff that involved the rest of the community.
So you had been arrested for committing a series of petty crimes?
Yes.
You were placed on probation. A condition of your probation was that you were to stay at home.
Yes.
And have a curfew. And
Yes.
do all the other things that a normal 16-year-old does.
Yes.
And you violated your probation according to you. I'm just trying to put this in English so that everybody, including Bird, understands it.
Okay.
So you were told that you had to do everything right, and then you wouldn't go to jail.
Yes.
But you didn't. You went to stay at Miss Canfield's house with Lissy for a week.
Yes.
And then you were placed in this shelter by the judge because you violated the terms of your probation.
Yes.
When were you placed in the shelter with Lissy?
We met up in the shelter. I've been to the shelter like 3 times. And we met up there the first time I was there. And then it was Thanksgiving time. I stayed at her house because my probation officer told me that if I didn't stop getting in trouble, he was going to put me back in the shelter. So I went and stayed at Lissy's house. And then I decided to go home the day after Thanksgiving. And then I got sent to the shelter.
She was arrested the day after Thanksgiving, Your Honor. She called me from the Canfield residence and asked me if I was going to call the cops if she came home. I told her I wouldn't. When I hung up from her, I called the police station and told them, my daughter's on her way home. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to call you and tell you that she's here, and hang up the phone. And when she pulled in the driveway in the Canfield truck, I called the Dover Police Department and said, Amber's home, and hung up the phone. And the next thing I know, there was cops everywhere. And I did not inform her that I was going to do that. I did it because I needed to protect her. She wasn't protecting herself.
Okay. Had you, in fact, called Mrs. Canfield during this Thanksgiving week when she wasn't at the shelter?
No, ma'am, I did not. I did not know where my daughter was the week of Thanksgiving. I didn't know about Mrs. Canfield and Lizzie, other than Lizzie was Amber's friend. Amber would ask to go to Lizzie's house before Thanksgiving, and I let Amber go, not knowing the type of home that it was at the time.
Well, why didn't you know?
I guess ignorance on my part. Amber just said it was a friend of hers.
That's your job to know.
Yes, ma'am.
If you let your daughter, who's been in trouble before, go to a girl's house, and I assume you knew that she met Lissy at the shelter, right?
I wasn't sure where she had met Lizzie.
Well,
I've met
did you
Lizzie.
ask the question, where did you meet Lissy?
No, ma'am.
You're trying to place blame on this lady.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm coming back to you and I'm saying, maybe partially her fault, but let's come back to you. What information did you have or should you have had with proper exercise of your parental responsibility? What quality information could you have gotten if you asked a few questions or did a little digging? You would have found out that Lissy was a girl that she met at the shelter, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So that would have told you one thing. Trouble! Then when she said, I want to spend some time at Lissy's house, say, okay, I'm going to get in the car and go over to Miss Canfield's and we're going to have a chat because just because you met her at the shelter, maybe she's not a girl who's all bad. Maybe it would be good for you to be together. But let me speak with Mrs. Canfield and find out what kind of a lady she is, what kind of a house it is, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You did none of that?
No, ma'am.
So there's a little, on your side, a little blame.
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What gives you the right to say if I can't deal with my daughter and she's bipolar?
Amber's bipolar,
This one's
Your Honor.
probably bipolar too.
Yes, ma'am.
Possible bipolar, possible just bad.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Gail Michaud says when her daughter, 17-year-old Amber Burley, ran away from home, she was aided by Lisa Canfield. Gail says during that time, Amber committed a series of crimes.
Now, when you ran away, Amber, you committed another series of crimes, am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Like, what did you do?
When I left the shelter, I left with their van and...
The shelter's van?
Yeah.
How industrious of you.
Yes. It wasn't good on my half, and I also took allowance money.
What do you
to
mean
where I was
allowance
going.
money? Whose allowance money?
Like, they put all the girls' allowance money in one.
All the girls, not just your allowance. So you stole money from the
Yes.
shelter. So you stole both the van and money.
Yes.
And you left with Lissy?
Lissy was at home. She had called me and told me that she was coming to get me because I had court in 2 days and I was supposed to go to the youth detention center.
Sounds like a perfect place for you.
Well, Lissy called and told me she was coming to get me, and then I called her house back and I talked to her mom and I informed her mom that I was coming.
Is that what she said to you?
No, Your Honor, that's not
What
what
did she say?
said. She had called a couple days before and had talked to Lissy, and then at one point had left a message on the answering machine for Lissy. I didn't realize she was going to leave placement at that time.
But you went and picked her up according to the complaint that I read.
A couple nights later at 2 o'clock in the morning, she called me and said she had been in an accident, and I didn't know that she had stolen the van. I didn't know that's how she had left placement, Your Honor.
Yes?
When I called Lissy, I told Lissy.
I'm not talking about Lissy, I'm talking about her mother.
Her mother. I told her mother that I stole the van and the money, I got into a car accident, and I needed a ride home. And I told her that I'd give her...
Baloney!
That's not what she said.
Bull! I don't believe that you told her I stole. Okay. I stole the van and I stole money, please come and get me, because I had an accident. That I don't believe. I might believe that you said to her I had an accident, and then later on she found out that you had stolen the van. But I don't believe that you right up front said to her I stole the van. Why would she come pick you up? Is she crazy?
Because I gave her $50 for coming to get me. With the stolen money, I said, can you please come and get me? I will give you $50.
That I believe. That you said to her, please, I was in an accident, come and get me, I'll give you $50. That I believe.
After I told her that I stole the money.
That I don't believe.
I did.
I mean, I don't know anything about her. All I know about you is that you're a liar, that you're a thief, that you place your needs over the needs of everybody else. So if I have to rely on my common sense would dictate to me that when you got on the phone at 2 o'clock in the morning, you wouldn't say anything that would turn off an alarm in her head and say, I better not get involved with this, that you would say, please, I had an accident, come and get me, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And she said, I don't think I want to do that. And you said, I'll give you $50 if you come and get me. And she may not be the nicest person. I mean, I may not entrust her with my grandchildren, but she doesn't sound to me like she's psychotic. You'd have to be psychotic to come and pick you up when you told her, I stole the van that I'm in, and I stole the money that I have, and I'm going to give you $50 of the stolen money. That doesn't jive with my common sense. In any event, you should have known better, Miss Canfield, because you knew where your daughter met her. You knew a lot more about her than just that she was a nice young girl from around the neighborhood that your daughter was palling around with. So you should have kept your nose out of other people's business.
Well,
right?
what was I didn't feel right leaving her in the middle of a snowstorm.
Tell her to call the police.
In a car accident.
Tell her to call the police, Miss Canfield.
I didn't do that. I just...
Well, I know you didn't do that, but you should have.
Yeah, well, I probably should have.
Well, you should have. Why didn't you say to her, why don't you call your mother?
Because she told me her mother doesn't have a license.
When did she tell you her mother doesn't have a license?
A long time ago, when she first started coming to our house.
Call another relative. Do you understand what I mean, Miss Canfield?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So you understand that I believe that either through your own stupidity or whatever, you aided her in doing the wrong thing.
And that was not my intention, Your Honor.
Well, it may not have been your intention, but that's exactly what you did. When you went to pick her up, before you went, you did call her mother and tell her, I'm going to pick up your daughter.
Not at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Why not?
Because I didn't even have her phone number.
Why didn't you say to her, give me your mother's phone number? I wanted to know where you are.
Because I figured if she wanted to call her mother, she would have.
There's your problem. She's 16.
And I know that she had some problems with her mother before. That's why she came to my house at Thanksgiving.
That's not your business. You chose to let that be your business.
Because I feel bad for kids sometimes.
You having trouble with your own daughter?
Yes, and that's why I feel bad for kids sometimes.
That doesn't make you a poster mom for Dr. Spock.
No,
that makes you somebody who's had trouble rearing their own teenage daughter and doesn't make you an expert in child rearing. So you don't have enough parental skills to take care of your own daughter. What gives you the right to take care of somebody else's daughter who's a problem?
That has bipolar has nothing to do with parental skills.
Oh, yes, just a second.
It's a disorder.
Just listen to me very carefully. I haven't heard that she's been diagnosed with being a bipolar.
My daughter has.
But what gives you the right to say if I can't deal with my daughter and she's bipolar?
Amber's bipolar,
This one's
Your Honor.
probably bipolar too.
Yes, ma'am.
Maybe. You know, a lot of bad behavior has been attributed to a lot. They always like to put a label on things. You know, label instead of just being a rebellious teenager, just being somebody who is naughty, just being somebody who is undisciplined. Possible bipolar, possible just bad. People don't like to use that term. But it is possible. You understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Uh-huh. You believe that Miss Canfield is responsible for all your troubles with regard to this incident. Is that right?
No, ma'am, I don't believe she's responsible for
Well,
all of them.
Good. You are at least partially responsible. You should have known where
Yes,
she
ma'am.
was.
Yes,
You should have known who Miss Canfield was. You should have visited her home.
Yes, ma'am.
You should have gotten some information about her before you let your daughter go there.
Yes, ma'am.
Stop moving around. Sorry. Okay. Now, what would the extent of your fines?
Right now, I'm still pending fines for something that also took place while I was at Miss Canfield's house. Me and her daughter went to a car dealership and took a bunch of cars. We took them to Miss Canfield's house. They were there for 2 days, and then we woke up one day and decided we were going to go see my dad. So we took one of the cars to Lissy's mom's work. We showed her the car. We told her that we were going to go up to my dad's. And then Lissy decided to go with her boyfriend. I went with my dad. I ended up in a high-speed chase.
You went with your dad?
Yes.
Did your father say, where did you get the car from?
My father called the police on me.
And is that when you got into the high-speed chase?
Yes, ma'am.
Uh-huh. Is that where you were finally apprehended?
Nope, I was caught at Miss Canfield's house 3 days later.
I see. So you beat the police in the chase?
Yes, and I went to a phone and called Lisa and asked her to come get me.
I see. So in this high-speed chase, you lost them at the border of New Hampshire.
Nope, they followed me all the way to Dover. They were right behind me. We just jumped out of the car, and because it was the town that I lived in, we knew it, and the police officer didn't, so we all just
Who's
ran.
the we? All?
There was me, Randy, Nicole, and Brittany in the car.
Where'd you get them from?
Lisa's house.
No, they weren't at my house.
Where did you meet them?
Nicole is my best friend. I've known her since I was 12. And
Does she have any psychiatric problems?
No.
Huh?
No, ma'am.
So she's not bipolar?
No, she's not.
Uh-huh. Now, who else?
Not yet.
I met Randy at Miss Canfield's house.
So how long do you know Randy?
I knew him for like 2 weeks.
He's not bipolar, is he?
He's not. I don't know if he's bipolar.
You don't think you're nuts, do you?
I was. Not no more.
Oh, good. Maybe it was the 5.5 months you spent in the juvenile facility.
Yeah.
When you were in the juvenile facility, I'm really curious about this. Were you on medication?
Yes.
How often?
I took 900 milligrams of lithium once a day.
And now?
Same thing. It's court ordered for me to take it.
You staying closer to home these days?
I live with my mom now.
I asked you if you're staying closer to home.
Yes.
You doing anything like going to school?
I recently enrolled back in high school, and I participate in community service at youth resources. In
Not
Denver.
voluntarily, I assume.
Yes, voluntarily.
What happened as a result of stealing the van and stealing the money?
I got a $650 fine, and I spent 5 months and 3 days in the youth detention center.
Oh, well, that's an eye-opener. Did you like it?
No, I didn't.
I assume not. And I assume that you would prefer not to go back there.
No, never.
No, never. You know what the youth detention facility is like after spending 5 months there?
Yes, I do.
Paradise compared to adult jail. Paradise. Miss Canfield, did there ever come a time when your daughter and Amber came to your house and had a couple of cars with them?
When
The answer is either yes or no.
I was at work, so I'm trying to answer you the best I can. I know the car, one of the cars was there because it drove over my septic system, and I saw where it drove over when I got home.
What kind of car was it?
I have no idea.
Was it a new car or an old car?
It was new.
New car?
Yes.
Didn't you ask about it?
Well, it wasn't at my house when I got home. I just know there had been a car at my home because it drove over the back lawn.
Didn't you ask about it?
Yes.
And what did your daughter tell you?
She said they had taken a car, and I told them to take it back.
Did you call the police?
No, I did not.
Look, your problem, Miss Canfield, in all of this is that I gather from the papers that you either were found guilty or pled guilty in the criminal court to somehow interfering with the plaintiff's custody of her daughter. Is that true?
In order to get the deal, I had to plead guilty to all charges.
So you pled guilty?
Yes, I did.
Ms. Canfield, as I indicated to you before, even if I didn't find that you were responsible in any way for this young lady's antics, you already acknowledged that you were responsible for this young lady's antics, or at least partially responsible by your guilty plea in the criminal court.
Well,
I think that her mother is more responsible than she's willing to acknowledge in not making sure where her daughter was.
Ma'am, I
when
take
she wasn't with her.
responsibility for what
Good. Well, then you're suing
do
the
in my
plaintiff for $5,000. That includes your emotional distress, part of which you're responsible for.
Yes, ma'am.
And the fines. So I think so far she's responsible for all the fines, and you're responsible for your own emotional distress. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $650. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may.
Các em thân mến, chào mừng các em đến với video mới ngày hôm nay nhé. Ở video này chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau ôn lại một chút về phép nhân phép chia của hỗn số. Các em biết là đối với phép cộng phép trừ thì chúng ta có thể là đổi thành phân số rồi thực hiện phép tính, hoặc là chúng ta thực hiện phần nguyên trước và phân số sau. Nhưng mà bây giờ cái này chúng ta sẽ cần phải yêu cầu bắt buộc là chúng ta phải chuyển từ hỗn số sang dạng phân số, sau đấy là tính, đúng không ạ? Và đây chúng ta sẽ có biểu thức này, chúng ta sẽ đổi ở đây thành 3 nhân 9 cộng với 4 và nhân với đây là 2 nhân 5 cộng với 4. Đây chúng ta sẽ được 3 nhân 9 là 27, 27 cộng với 4 là 31 phần 9 nhân cho 14 phần 5. Đúng không ạ? Ở đây kết quả của chúng ta sẽ bằng 31 nhân 14 đến 9 nhân 5. Ở đây là 45. Ở đây sẽ là 31 nhân 14, chúng ta sẽ nhân ở ngoài. 31 nhân 14 là được 310 cộng với 4, 1 là 4, 4 32, 434. 434 thì ở đây chúng ta sẽ chia cho 45. Thì chúng ta sẽ được 10, thì không được thì chúng ta được 9, 9436 rồi. Quá, được 8. 8 nhân 45 là thành được 0 nhớ 2, 8432 nhớ 2, 44 đi quá rồi, 7. 7 5 35 Việt Nam nhớ 3, 7 4 28, 28 mà nhớ 3 là 31, 315, 330, 400. Đúng. 9 4 3 6 9 5 4 5 9 chứ. 9 5 4 5 Việt Nam nhớ 4, 9 4 3 6 nhớ 4 là 39. 4 là 9, 13 trừ đi 10 bằng 3, 4 hết 39 phân 45. Kết quả chúng ta sẽ là 39 phân 45 là kết quả của bài thứ nhất. Ở đây này, khi thực hiện thì chúng ta sẽ thấy là phân 39 này chính là số dư của 434 chia 45, đúng không ạ? Thì chúng ta sẽ viết được kết quả ở đây là 2 nhân với cái này sẽ là bằng 9, 39 phân 45. Đây là kết quả của bài toán.
Urgent! Stop everything! This moment, exact moment, you're not here to drift. You're here to ignite. Wake up! Wake up! Now! Goddard Jones weighing in with from a thoughtful look around. Tired eyes, silent struggles, dreams left untouched. It's not just your burden, it's your family's.
Your parents, your siblings, they feel it. And deep down, so do you. But this is your choice. Remain stuck or break free. Each hardship, each sleepless night, forge your spirit. That fire isn't borrowed, it's yours. You've overcome. You've survived. Now it's time to own it. Inside you is a spark. Speak your truth. One step, one choice. That's all it takes to shift everything. Today, this day, demands one action from you. Get up. Plan. Today, you face fear, but you act anyway. You don't wait for permission, you decide, you rise, because your life and your family deserve it. Say it. I am the change. Wake up now. Be the power that changes everything. Wake up. Start now. You don't need a giant leap. A single action, one call, one study session, one run starts your momentum. Every meaningful change begins with one small step forward. When you're consistent, those steps compound into extraordinary progress. But it won't always go as planned. You'll stumble, fail, face rejection. That's not defeat, it's feedback. Each failure is a lesson, forging resilience and revealing what to do next. Embrace it, learn, grow, then get back in the fight. Now close your eyes. Imagine your future. See your family proud, your spirit alive, your goals within reach. You are leading your future and theirs right now. Hold that image. Let it drive every choice you make. Say it with me. I am the change. I start now. Rise. Take that step. Wake up now. Be the force that changes everything. Now close your eyes. Imagine your future. See your family proud, your spirit alive, your goals within reach. You are leading your future and theirs right now. Hold that image. Let it drive every choice you make. Say it with me. I am the change. I start now. Rise. Take that step. Wake up now. Be the force that changes everything. You don't need a giant leap. A single action, one call, one study session, one run starts your momentum. Every meaningful change begins with one small step forward. When you're consistent, those steps compound into extraordinary progress. But it won't always go as planned. You'll stumble, fail, face rejection. That's not defeat, it's feedback. Each failure is a lesson, forging resilience and revealing what to do next. Embrace it, learn, grow, then get back in the fight. When you're consistent, those steps compound into extraordinary progress. Say it. I am the change. Be the power that changes everything. Wake up. Start now. You've overcome. You've survived. Now it's time to own it. Inside you is a spark. Speak your truth. One step, one choice. Today, you face fear, but you act anyway. You don't wait for permission. You decide. You rise, because your life and your family deserve it. Say it. I am the change. Wake up now. Each hardship, each sleepless night, forge your spirit. That fire isn't borrowed, it's yours. You've overcome. You've survived. Now it's time to own it. Inside you is a spark. Speak your truth. One step, one choice. That's all it takes to shift everything. Today, this day, demands one action from you. Get up. Plan. Today, you face fear, but you act anyway. You don't wait for permission, you decide, you rise, because your life and your family deserve it. Say it. I am the change. Wake up now. Be the power that changes everything. Wake up. Start now. You don't need a giant leap. A single action, one call, one study session, one run starts your momentum. Every